First thing I'd like to do is welcome everyone and thank you all for coming. I know we have a couple of residents here that are interested in some of the items we're going to be discussing, and thank them for coming. I think that it really helps the town when citizens are engaged in decisions that affect them, so thanks a lot for coming. Also, I'd like to thank Corporal Weatherby for coming tonight. Thanks again, Corporal, for coming tonight and for everything you do. And thank the council. I know it's a long, hot day there, and we'll try to keep this meeting to have a hard stop at 7 o'clock. Excuse me. So, and that was a good suggestion by Councillor Cox. I think that's a very good suggestion, and we'll try to adhere to that. Okay, the first thing I'd like to do, the second thing I'd like to do is acknowledge the land upon which we gather is the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. And the second item is a declaration of conflict of interest. So I'd like any councillor who has any conflict with any of the items we're going to be discussing here tonight to declare so now.
Your Worship, item 12F and G, that development proposal backs onto my residential property. So I'll recuse myself from any discussion with council on the issue as well as from the vote. Okay. And I'll move from the table into the gallery and sit as a resident from that point.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Okay, any other conflicts of any items we're covering here tonight? Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to approval. Sorry? Oh, Councillor Chandler. Is anyone heard from Councillor Chandler? Is she? My understanding she was. Oh, she here? No, she was going to come. So I talked to her. Okay, well, we'll catch her up when she comes. Then we've already got the meeting underway. So sorry.
I know it's tough for me to get here tonight too. There's the construction by Sobeys there. It's
yeah.
Big lineups there. She may be caught in the lineup.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Okay, third item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda or the order that anyone would like to?
Your Worship, can I, with respect to the residents in the gallery, can we move, I'll recommend we move the planning items to number 9 in exchange for safety services. So move safety services report to where planning is. Just flip-flop those just for so our residents aren't waiting all night to get to that. If that's okay.
Seconder? Yeah, second that. Okay.
Worship, I'd further propose, just in the interest of Corporal Weatherby, maybe move safety services to just adjacent to planning and development. Just behind.
Certainly.
Yeah,
okay.
I second that. I think we should put Corporal up far as you can.
Okay, that's an amendment to the original motion,
yeah.
So it's an addition. Okay, so with the amended motion, any discussion on the amended motion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And those against? Motion carried. So we now have a new order of our agenda with item 9, safety services. Move to item 10, and item 12 move to item 9, and everything else is bumped down one. Okay, business arising, or in the minutes of the regular council meeting 13th of June 2024. Anyone have any additions or deletions to that, to those minutes? I just have one thing coming from the Heritage Committee, and I'm not sure where it is in the minutes, but apparently the chair, or one of the members of the Heritage Committee noticed that there was a, he wanted to make it clear in the minutes that the request or the idea to change the name of or name the new subdivision Billy McMillan Drive actually came from the Heritage Committee, so he wanted that to be clarified. So that's any discussion on that? I know that it was mentioned here otherwise, I guess, but is there any?
That came from Heritage?
Yeah, yeah.
Recently, and they changed the Terry Road and then went back to doing the Millen Drive.
I think the original suggestion from the Heritage Committee was to, they wanted to change the name of Bayside, I believe it was, to Ferry Road, and the actual recommendation from Heritage Committee was for Billy McMillan Drive. That was a statement that was made at Heritage. Councillor Jackson, do you have any comment on that?
No, as long as we get to the right place, I think we're good. But I know any discussions before that did not mention Billy McMillan. I know Deputy Mayor had brought that up. So regardless of how it's done, I'm glad it is done. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was.
I'm sorry. I think
May need Mr. Crosby to weigh in on this, but I believe those were the minutes from 2 meetings ago. I don't believe they're the most recent minutes that are in there, so I'm not sure if you can go back and amend. I believe.
Oh, we may
I'm
have.
just looking and I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the process is. Anyway, it was raised at Heritage Committee, so if it's possible to correct those minutes, then so be it. If not, then we'll move on.
Why don't you let staff look into that, and then
Sure.
we can come back at the next meeting with
That'd
a
be great.
correction if
Yeah.
need be.
It's not a big issue, but it just it was important to this individual, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll have to research it and make sure that that's what was said.
100%, thank
Yep.
you. Are there any other suggestions for changes to the regular council meeting minutes of 13th of June? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of those minutes. Second? Second. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. Any business arising from the minutes that won't be covered here tonight? If not, we'll go to item 6, presentations from the floor. Any presentations? No? Thank you. In my report, it's in your package, I believe. I forwarded it, Mary. Is it included in the package? Yeah, I don't have it in my minutes. Anyway, it was added on Monday, Mary. Anyway, if you could forward that to everyone, that'd be great. I can maybe come back to that for other business or whatever. Chief Administrative Officer report. If you could give your report now, CAO Crosby, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Worship. I'll be brief because I know we do have a big agenda tonight, but my report is in your package, and just a few highlights. Attended a transit committee meeting to discuss the future fleet planning and replacement program. The electric bus tender did go out today. It's not the same as what we originally discussed because there has been some fleet replacement in between with regard to diesel buses, but the electrification plan is moving forward, but just in a modified version. I think I did speak about that before. Along with the Deputy CAO, Jeremy Pierce, I attended a meeting with the President of Holland College to talk about possible partnerships for the community campus. Really good discussion with him, and he's looking forward to further discussions in the future. I attended a Microsoft Teams meeting with Michael Ferguson from the Office of Atlantic Regional Affairs to discuss the community campus, and we hope to have further discussions on that. Attended the open house and presentation on the community campus project. Really good representation from residents on that, and a great discussion, and Jeremy Pierce did a great job in the presentation. Attended a meeting with department heads and the long-range planner to discuss the Housing Accelerator Fund project and the progress with that, and it is moving along nicely, and we'll have some further information for council here soon. Attended a workshop with members of CATCC, which is the Transit Committee, on the Provincial Transit Coordination discussion paper, and that's further discussion will be had on that and the province's role with regard to transit. And along with the mayor and deputy mayor, attended a meeting with the RCMP chief of superintendent and the district commander for the quarterly update on policing in Stratford. Really good discussion on all the good work that they're doing here in Stratford. And I, along with the director of infrastructure, met with a resident to talk about stormwater issues close to the emergency services building, and I think we did come up with a solution for the stormwater drainage issues along there, and we shouldn't have any further problems there once Department of Transportation makes the corrections, and they're very willing to help out on that. So if there's any other questions on my report, I'd be more than willing to answer them.
Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move to item 12, which is now item 9, Planning, Development, and Heritage. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor Jeff McDonald, to give his report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Do want to start out by acknowledging all of the work that planning staff and our planning committee have undertaken over this last cycle. Certainly a lot before you here this evening. I'll try to move through it as expeditiously as possible, understanding that there certainly could be questions, and we'll take as much time as we need. Without further ado, I'll just note that the building type summary and the building permit summaries are there. Considering the magnitude of items that are for us for resolutions, I won't spend much time on that. Just subject to any questions, though, they are there. Okay, thank you. Not hearing any questions, I'll move on to our first resolution. So this is resolution PH 011-2024, DP 071-24, from Marshall McPherson Limited, requesting a conditional use to construct a 4-unit townhouse complex located at 13 and 15 Jenkins Avenue on PID 289306. And the resolution is as follows. Whereas an application has been received from Marshall McPherson Limited to convert a semi-detached dwelling into a 4-unit townhouse complex by adding 2 units onto the existing dwelling at 13 and 15 Jenkins. A, quote, townhouse complex of up to 6 dwelling units, up to 40% of a block, is a conditional use within the medium-density residential R2 zone. Whereas pursuant to Section 11.3.3 of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, prior to the issuance of a development permit for a conditional use, Council shall ensure that property owners that directly abut the subject property are notified in writing and asked to provide their comments. Whereas on June the 7th, 2024, 7 notification letters were sent to abutting property owners. The property owners were given until 4 p.m. on June 25th, 2024 to provide comments on the proposed conditional use permit. This is a small typo that will be corrected in the actual resolution. 2 letters were received within the deadline from adjacent landowners. Be it resolved that Council shall grant approval to application DP 071-24 from Marshall McPherson Limited for conversion of a semi-detached dwelling into a 4-unit townhouse complex on PID 289306, subject to the following. 1, a detailed site plan showing the information required under Section 7.3.5 of the zoning bylaw. 2, that a development agreement be executed between the town and the applicant subject to such terms and conditions as Council deems necessary. 3, a detailed servicing plan must be submitted for approval to the Stratford Utility Corporation. 4, a detailed stormwater management plan must be prepared by a qualified engineer and approved by both the Town of Stratford and DOT. 5, a detailed erosion and sedimentation plan must be prepared showing how erosion and sedimentation will be controlled and contained during construction. 6, the location of the new driveways should be situated so that they do not cover any existing installed utilities in the area. 7, prior to the issuance of the occupancy permit for the new buildings, a final grading plan must be submitted and approved by the Town of Stratford. 8, all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 2nd, 2024. It is moved by myself as Chair of Planning, Development, and Heritage.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, discussion.
Just a small amendment. I went and checked at the property today, just drove there, but it's 1317 on the, not 1315 on that duplex. I don't probably doesn't mean a whole lot, but that's what's actually on the front of the building, 1317. 1370.
That does matter for sure.
No, I'm just saying if you want to amend that, whatever.
Well,
It's not a big deal, but
Yeah.
I thought that,
So that's suggested as a friendly amendment?
yeah, I'm just saying in case for any kind of
Okay.
legality or something that you had something wrong there, but.
Is that okay with the seconder and the mover?
I might want to just check with planning staff about that, just to make absolutely sure about that.
I pulled up view roofs It is 13 and 17, but once the 2 new units get in, they will all be renumbered. I think we have
Okay.
enough numbers in there to do like 13 to
Yeah.
19 or something.
I just,
Yeah.
I was just putting it there just because it's,
Really appreciate that, Councillor Cox. I'm certainly fine with that amendment, Mr. Mayor.
I beg your pardon?
I'm fine with that amendment.
Oh, you're okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's,
just for clarity.
anyone else have any objection to that amendment? No? Okay, so we'll accept the friendly amendment. So now the motion on the floor is as amended. So go ahead, Councillor Chandler.
Oh, I just, you had mentioned that there was a second letter received from,
2 letters were received.
2 letters
Two
were
re-
It's just a
letters
typo. It
received?
shows in the brackets 1.
You'll see it, it's on, in your planning, in your package, it's 12C-5.
so I just have the one letter?
Should be 2 there. There should be 1 stating we have no objection to the development, and then the second one is a little more fulsome.
Got it, got it,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake. I just wanted to, I only saw the first one.
Sure.
I only saw the second one too. Can you give a kind of a condensed version of the second letter? First one's very obvious, there's no objection to the traditional use change.
Well, I mean, certainly I
I
could,
didn't have a chance to read the prior, unless you want to take a few minutes.
You just scroll down. Oh, sorry, you
Yeah.
already scrolled down.
I can certainly, take all the time you need, Councillor, but I can paraphrase to a certain extent that the property adjacent who wrote the letter in opposition stated they had quite a time after Fiona with property damage. They're very sensitive to any further upending of any trees or natural features within the area that they live, which is certainly understood. They have some concerns about utility lines. They have some concerns about how that might be potentially routed. They're concerned about the nature of Jenkins Avenue, which is a narrow street. And they're concerned that the addition of those 2 other driveways, which can both support 2 cars, would increase the traffic volume there. Certainly, planning staff is here to speak, or can speak to the increase in parking and what concerns, if any, they might have. And again, understandable concerns about drainage on the property. They note that it's, Jenkins is a slanted roadway, that they certainly are cognizant of the fact that they really need a continuous flow of water from the top of the street down to the bottom. But I do understand that planning staff do not have concerns in that regard, but they're here to speak to that, Councillor, if you want to hear from them.
Okay, I do have concerns over that objection. This development is not completely out of character with the neighborhood. However, we're at a point, I think, where we're in process of identifying swath of areas throughout the town in relation to previous planning from Shape Stratford and our bylaw review. And if we have an area where conditional use is being put into an area where it got, wouldn't otherwise have, as a matter of right, be allowed to remain, my concern is that we're putting the cart before the horse in having areas that are changed in density prior to us determining what areas in the town are most appropriate for densification, and changing those zonings so that these projects would be a matter of right as opposed to conditional use, and therefore not supporting this application based on the residents' objections.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Sure, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Councillor Dowling. I heard from a lot of folks yesterday about this. And I apologize if I cough through this, but I know, similar to Councillor Dowling talking about the idea, the areas identified in Shape Stratford for densification, and you know, I think there are lots of areas that we will have the ability to do that. I'm a little worried in this neighborhood of you know, going, it's not out of character. The you know, the semi-detached right now. I just think I drove by there, similar to Councillor Cox, it's, no doubt it would look really good. You know, hearing from the residents, their concerns about traffic, about and I know I mentioned Briar Jones before, the traffic disaster that can be, that it is, all the time. I don't support further densification of this area this time.
Any other comments or questions?
I just want to say, I drove in there today. There's already a duplex there, and really, you're adding another duplex. And as far as, if I can read through all the documents, there'll be a retaining wall between the two when they're joined together, so it can actually be sold as duplexes later on if they want to down the road. But really, you're adding another duplex to that street is what you're adding. You already have a duplex there. And that duplex, it looks like it needs a bit of work on the outside, whatever's starting to age a bit. So I think part of his rebuild is to resurface that duplex too, which would make it look a lot nicer. To me, you're adding another duplex to that street and it's not a really whole lot of houses on the street. Like you're not looking at 100 houses or anything like that. Street goes up, and then of course it's a dead end on the end, and there's a side street comes off it. But I looked hard at it today. I wanted to know what this is all about. That's how I noticed the number. Usually, as my math teacher in grade 12 would say, you almost failed math. But anyway, I wasn't great with numbers, but that stuck out at me because I was really looking hard at the property. And to me, there's enough room to do this. And it means a re-beautification of that property that's already established. So that's something good for the neighborhood too. But if it was a stackable townhouses or something he was building there, I would have more of a concern. Or if there was a 4-story condo or apartments, whatever. But really, you're looking at another duplex being added to that street is what it is.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yep.
Sure, go ahead.
I was looking at the file this morning, talking to planning, and I know it's contingent on stormwater management plan at the end, which is my concern, with running down the grade there and so on. But we are looking at density in the town of Stratford, and there's going to be 2 more units to the density problem. And I know our population is growing, and with all the plans there with the developer, everything in the back is cleaned up, trees and so on. And maybe the pole has to be moved. The driveways, they're putting 4 driveways and parking 2 cars in each driveway, which is, able. And I mean, with parking, you just put some signs up. I was talking to the CEO today. I mean, you had to put some signs up. Nobody parking on the roadway, so on. And so if the RCB enforce them, but parking, they're allowed 2 spots. So and the developer has 2 spots there, paving each driveway. So I'll be supporting this motion tonight, and it's not going to increase too much traffic. It's just and it's not going to mix the neighborhood. It's going to be with the other neighbor, with a couple of duplexes in that neighborhood. So it's not going to take the landscape away and so on. So I'll be supporting that. So, but everything contingent on the storm management water plan there, and I think developer can attest to that too before we can accept it tonight or not accept it and go through that way, right?
Okay, anybody else? Thank you.
I would just note, I mean, I'm a proponent, I'm a mover of the resolution, but I'll just speak to it just very briefly. We have 2 letters, one in support, one not. As my colleague Councillor Dowling noted, and Councillor Cox, it provides an opportunity to sort of revive the development in question, to give it a facelift, to tie it all in together, to really address any of the stormwater issues to the satisfaction of the town and to the satisfaction of the residents. I think when you look at the responses from the developer to the queries of Mr. Ruff from our planning department, he's certainly alive to the issues and is willing to work with them, specifically on the routing of utility lines and things of that nature. So I think we're having a good neighbor who's already present in that part of our town, looking to revive that development a little bit and bring it up to, I think, something that the other neighbors would probably be pretty proud of having there. So certainly I'm in support of the resolution.
Any other comments?
I have similar concerns to Councillor Jackson, and I probably won't vote to support this today. I have concerns over the parking and the street as a whole. I think it is a fairly busy street. I'm on it quite frequently for drop-offs for my kids. And I agree with the comments from the resident. Additionally, I think that we are setting a dangerous precedent if we use the lens that it will give the developer an opportunity to upgrade the property that they already have, so that we would change or accommodate that. I would hope that we would encourage folks to do that anyway.
Okay. All right. Any other final comments before I call the question? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, and I will vote, because this meets all the requirements of the Planning Development Bylaw, and it is recommended by the Planning Development Heritage Committee, I'm going to vote to support it. And I do appreciate that there is opposition, and I appreciate the comments of the councillors who are opposed to this. I think we have to respect the residents, and we have to listen to what they have to say. And I did have a conversation before the meeting with a resident, and I think there's a general, it's the old story about uncertainty, that you don't know about something, so until you know more about it, you know, the natural human tendency is to be opposed. And I think that the information that's been provided showing that there is, it does meet the requirements of our planning bylaw, and I guess that's the tipping point for me. So that's why I'm supporting it. So I will vote in favor. Okay, on that basis, I declare the motion carried. Okay, you have another resolution?
Yes, I do have a few more, so thank you for that. Good discussion, everybody. So moving on to our next resolution, PH 012-2024, DP 085-24 from CMLMT Holdings Limited, a 10-dwelling unit stacked townhouse, which is a conditional use located at 23 to 31 Woodhouse Court, PID 1147578. And it is moved by myself as Chair of Planning, Development, and Heritage. And it reads as follows: whereas an application has been received from Sean McGuire, owner of CMLMT Holdings Limited, to construct a 10-unit stacked townhouse dwelling complex at 23-31 Woodhouse Court, which is parcel number 1147578, within the medium-density residential R2 zone. A stacked townhouse dwellings having up to 12 dwelling units, up to 40% of the block, is listed as a conditional use within the R2 zone. Whereas pursuant to section 11.3.3 of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, prior to the issuance of a development permit for a conditional use, council shall ensure that property owners that directly abut the subject property are notified in writing and asked to provide their comments. And whereas on June 7th, 2024, 5 notification letters were sent to abutting property owners. The property owners were given until 4 p.m. on June 25th, 2024 to provide comments on the proposed conditional use permit. 1 letter was received within the deadline with comments from an adjacent landowner. Be it resolved, the council shall grant approval to application DP 085-24 from Sean McGuire, owner of CMLMT Holdings Limited, to construct a 10-dwelling unit stacked townhouse building at 23-31 Woodhouse Court on parcel number 1147578, subject to the following conditions. 1, conformance with the conceptual drawings submitted to the town, prepared by Sable Arc, dated June 4th, 2024. 2, that a development agreement be executed between the town and the applicant, subject to such terms and conditions as council deems necessary. 3, a detailed servicing plan must be submitted for approval to the Stratford Utility Corporation. 4, a detailed stormwater management plan must be prepared by a qualified engineer and approved by both the town of Stratford and DOT. 5, a detailed erosion and sedimentation plan must be prepared showing how erosion and sedimentation will be controlled and contained during construction. 6, depending on the final design of the retaining wall along the south lot line, a fence/railing may be required for safety purposes. 7, all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 2nd, 2024.
Hey, do you have a seconder? Thank you. Second. Okay, discussion.
I might lead,
Sure, go ahead.
lead the discussion,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor. So this is a stacked townhouse, proposed development located on Woodhouse, which is in the Kelly Heights subdivision, which is an area under fairly active construction and rapid development within the town. This would be, as far as I am aware, and I don't think I'm wrong about this, our first, if it's approved, stacked townhouse development within the town after its inclusion in our zoning development bylaw a couple of months ago now. You may recall that there was a stacked townhouse development before us at the time in an area of the town that was fairly well developed, and fairly mature, and council voted against that stacked townhouse development, I think for fairly valid reasons, as it just wasn't going to be the right development for that area of the town. This, on the other hand, respectfully, I would suggest is an ideal location for the stacked townhouse development that's being proposed by the developer. It is on a fairly unique piece of property, a fairly large piece of property, as you'll note from the site plan, in that despite the size of the unit in question being 10 units, it is capable, based upon the land size, of supporting 10 and a half units. So they're certainly going towards the maximum, but what you'll note when you look at page 2 of 6 of the site plan is that there's ample green space still found within this development. Backing onto the Stratford Trail, it's at the end of a cul-de-sac, which is a natural terminus for this type of development, with plenty of parking, and I think it's a good savvy move by the developer to include an accessible parking space in there to allow for those with mobility issues to take advantage of that. This is a matter of taste and certainly not necessarily one of planning, but certainly the proposed design of the building itself is an attractive one. It's certainly not, I would say, a budget build, and certainly takes into account, I think, the changing nature of Kelly Heights, that this is not an area, I would respectfully state, that is a mature area where we're shoehorning something in. This is going up along with the natural state of development within Kelly Heights, respectfully. I think it addresses concerns for green space. I think it addresses concerns about our population crunch within this province as well as this nation. It concerns the housing shortage. It allows us to add a new, better performing form of density into our R2 zone while still respecting all of the setbacks that are required. Personally, for me, I think it meets a lot of our objectives as a town. I think it's an ideal development for that size of a lot, and considering its proximity to the trail, to the cul-de-sac, adding on all the green space with plenty of parking, I think respectfully that it's a very well-considered application. So I'm certainly in support of it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other comments?
So, Your Worship, they're similar to what I had before in the fact that we're imposing higher densification into areas that might not otherwise be looked to do so, other than as a conditional use. And I just want to very quickly go through a couple of comments from the letter. I think it's important to read them in a couple of sections into the record because it really does hit the nail on the head from the position of my concerns. Firstly, the increases from 3 to 10 units represents a significant intensification of land use. The increased density will inevitably lead to more traffic congestion in the area. It's a dead-end street with a small roundabout and is not equipped to handle the additional traffic that a 10-unit complex would generate. This poses a safety risk for pedestrians, particularly children playing in the neighborhood. Secondly, the character of our neighborhood, and this is important, the character of the neighborhood, which consists primarily of single-family homes, duplexes, and small townhouse complexes, will be significantly altered by the construction of a large stacked townhouse complex. This type of development is out of scale with the surrounding properties and will disrupt the visual harmony and community atmosphere residents value. Furthermore, the existing Woodhouse Course residents who have recently purchased their expensive new properties expected that the character of the neighborhood will remain consistent. The sudden shift from a modest 3-unit townhouse complex to a significantly larger 10-unit development undermines these expectations and betrays the trust of the homeowners. Many residents would likely have reconsidered their decision to buy in the area had they known about a possibility of a much larger building complex being constructed nearby, which would not only only alter the community's character, but also potentially devalue their investment. And he goes on with he or she or they go on with other points, but those points to me are significant, particularly when we're on the eve of going through a 2-year, having changes made in culmination of a 2-year project through Shape Stratford to identify areas for densification. Seems like we're rushing now all of a sudden because Stratford is being known as being desirous of densification. Seems to me that we're rushing to allow densification in areas where might not have been allowed before by council. Yes, we do need densification, but it ought to be in areas that are in character with the neighborhood and not foisted upon people who are currently living within an environment that they bought into with the expectation that that would stay relatively unchanged. So that's my key objection, is that we're putting the cart before the horse here. We need to follow through with our plans in relation to our official plan in conjunction with Shape Stratford, identify areas for densification, and then open it up to developers for those areas as a matter of right. And if people choose to buy on a particular street that's been zoned for densification, then they know what they're buying into, rather than buying into an area they think they're buying into, and then have it changed by conditional use granted by council. So I'm speaking in opposition to this motion, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you.
Against it.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments, questions?
Just in regards to, can you clarify, I know you've said it a couple of times, plenty of parking. What is the actual allotment? 16 spaces for
10 units.
10 units?
10 units. 10 units.
10 units?
Yeah.
And one disabled.
Let me just double, I have to go to the minutes.
So that's, so it's,
Madam Councillor.
so allowing 1.5 spaces per unit?
Right, which I think is what our bylaw requires. Just let me check our minutes, or unless they might know that for sure, right off the top of their head, planning staff.
Okay, so yeah, so in terms of parking, stacked townhouses require 1.5 spaces per unit. So on a 10 unit, it requires 50, and they're at 16.
And is there any allotment for visitor spaces?
That is the visitors. So it's one dedicated per unit plus one visitor per stack.
Okay. And it's in a cul-de-sac, at the end of a cul-de-sac?
Yes, yeah, it's just.
So in theory, like we've seen it time and time again, when it comes to parking, these are 2-bedroom units or 3-bedroom?
They are 2 bedrooms.
Okay, so it could be fair to make assumptions that each unit could potentially have 2 cars.
Potentially.
So they would park in the cul-de-sac area?
They might, I can't tell where they would park. So they might park in the cul-de-sac, or they might, it all depends, like, I know in my complex, we're 2-bedroom townhouse units, and there's only a couple of places that actually have 2 vehicles. Most of us just have 1 in our complex through here. And so we actually have a lot of empty spaces in our townhouse complex. So it all depends who moves in. You might get a family just with a single vehicle, you may get a family with 3 vehicles. We don't necessarily regulate that as to who lives in there and how many vehicles they have. We just have it based on the number of spaces per unit.
Okay.
Okay. And in the old, just for clarity, in times previously, was that 1.5 spaces per stacked townhouses a reduced allotment? At one time, was the allotment 2? I feel like when we spoke about the some of the previous regulations, that the number of parking spaces was a real discussion point.
So for the stacks, we bought it from another municipality. We didn't have stacks up until April of this year.
Right, but we took it from like Bedford or like somewhere in Nova Scotia?
Yes.
Where it was
we
more
took it from
urban?
Nova Scotia. We did take a look at Charlottetown's too, and Charlottetown actually has less parking than we do. So we took like the average of the
Actually,
places we checked out.
Mr. Ruff, I think I'm pretty sure we are at the highest end.
Yes, yeah, we're near the
Yeah.
high end. A lot of them was
Yeah.
like one per unit.
Yeah.
And then some were down to half per unit, so it'd be like one for every 4 units we did.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Sure, Your Worship.
Jackson?
So I appreciate the design, I appreciate the, all the work that's gone into this, but I do see it as potentially being another Briar Jones, just based on the shape and the number of vehicles and concerns around that. So I know it's a new area, and I know, you know, that I can appreciate the folks that have purchased in here lately with the idea that it's gonna be 3 rather than 10 units, I guess. So I just, I worry about the adequate parking. So if you talk about 1.5, like, we know the reality is not that. It isn't that in Briar Jones. It hasn't been, and I keep pointing to that example because it is a similar type of street with similar types of dwellings on it. So I won't support it. I think it's, I'd love to see the stacked townhouse somewhere where it was planned from the get-go. You know, I'm kind of torn on this one. I'd like to see it happen. I think this is maybe not the right spot.
Yeah, well, a couple of months ago, we opened the door, we all agreed on stacked townhousing because we had a population growth problem. And we're talking, let's create density. And I'm going with Ronnie there, talking to Ronnie about Shape Stratford. We can wait, or do stuff now, act on it, if opportunities like this here tonight. This area here is 20%, 20%, this takes 20% of the whole lot. It's the biggest lot in there. It's going to help the people in need for housing. I mean, the average price of a house in Stratford right now is $482,000 to buy a house in Stratford. That's the average price. In Charlottetown, it's $452,000. So we have to open up and look around, and when you have the builders come and knock on their door and accepting some of these things with conditional use and permitted to build in our neighborhoods and so on. And this is a multi-use neighborhood, so it's permitted. It's almost permitted use, but it's conditional. Put around the corner so on. But anyway, he's going to put a wall up, retaining wall up in the front of the fence and everything else. He's doing property, and there's a park in the area, there's a park in the far corner for the kids, the green space on the other side for the children to play. So, but on this, all in for passing this resolution tonight and this building permit.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Are the townhouses, will they be for rent or for purchase?
I don't think we know. I don't believe that was part of the application to identify the.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
referencing Deputy Mayor Gallant's
Okay.
price point
Yeah.
in purchasing a home.
Yeah.
If we, thought about mortgages, et cetera, versus rental. And like, in theory, what you're saying is that these would be more affordable.
I mean, yeah, it's a good point. I mean, but we could talk about what the average rent is too, and it's about $1,643 on average to rent a 2-unit bedroom now. So I mean, anything we can do to increase that. One way or another, we've got an affordability issue on the rental and the purchase side. Just something that I do want to bring up, and I think just for the record more than anything else, we've talked a little bit about Shape Stratford. This was one of the areas identified in our growth study for Shape Stratford to increase densification. This was one of those areas that was identified. So I think that's important for us to consider. We've gone down that road quite a bit. This council, I think, in the past has endorsed that approach. As well, with respect to the parking, I would remind council that this issue was before us when we were considering the proposed bylaw amendment to allow for stacked townhomes. we voted on that parking requirement with the understanding that we were actually at the highest end of, on a regional comparison amongst many other municipalities. So we're trying to address parking. We're trying to address growth. We're trying to achieve all of the objectives of affordability. And I think I just ask council to really consider this development through all of those lenses when you're looking at it.
And if I could, I know that we had those discussions about parking, and I think that at that time, I was consistent in that I had concerns over parking because although we have the vision of building our town around people, not cars, right now we're not there, and our bus routes are not there, and currently people park on the streets. And even in places like on the Kepik Road, when people are attending a sporting event, et cetera, when we have street parking, it's dangerous. It's not like an urban center where people are moving more slowly or more cautious around corners and that sort of stuff. So I do take the parking thing seriously. Additionally, when we had the other request in the similar area, and we brought up the concern over the merge, Hopeton Road, et cetera, could we assume that people would filter out through Rankin again? Like, would they exit the neighborhood that way, or would they come out above?
Well,
Because that's a very busy spot, right? And we did express concerns over, I think, was it a seniors unit initially that was, like, there was, and we were concerned over the density right in that corner.
Yes, it was a 40 unit.
Yeah, I mean, that was,
A bigger spot,
Yeah.
just, I'm just for clarity.
Sorry, Phil.
Sorry, I was just going to bring up a couple of things. In terms of the parking, there is actually a section in our bylaw which can be enacted. So it's 10.1.2, which says additional parking spaces may be required if, in the opinion of council, the parking spaces required on section 10 will not meet the anticipated parking requirements. So if parking is a concern, you could say, hey, even though the minimum is 1.5, for this one, bump it up to, say, 2 or 3 or whatever. If there is a concern that it's not going to be. I did have a discussion with the developer earlier today, and he is considered potentially shifting the building back a little bit, and that may open up parking spaces or ability on the front of the building, like so around to the left here. So, yeah, just around to the left a little bit on the front. So there is a little bit of wiggle room. And if parking does become an issue, being a conditional use, we can even bump it up, and there is additional space on site for additional parking as well. So.
Okay.
Just one small
Yeah,
last
go
thing.
ahead. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jackson, I think
sorry.
wanted to speak. And
Okay. Sorry, Jody. Like for me, like Rankin Drive is a real concern. I talked to residents there and I went door to door, especially during campaign time, and I've talked to different residents since, but like that street is becoming a throughway pretty quickly now with new development stuff. There's a lot of cars zipping down Rankin, and in fact, that's an area that you may have to look at for speed bumps or something in the future, because it is becoming a real speedway through there. And like I said, there will be some, I'm not sure what your answer was, Phil, for that, but I think Jill, Councillor Chandler asked about, will the spillway go on to Rankin? I didn't totally hear what you said. It could possibly come on to Rankin?
Yes, so I believe that's proposed to be a roundabout with accesses onto Rankin, Hopeton, and Bunbury. So
Okay.
it'll be a four-way
Yeah.
roundabout.
But I do support if we ask the developer to do, instead of 1.5 to have 2, would certainly, may take away some of the concerns in that respect. And I do have concerns about Rankin. Other than that, it's shaped Stratford. We need to get development done. Although it was announced at $1,600 for, I think Jeff said, our Council McDonald said, really, it's pretty hard to find an apartment anywhere it's under $2,000 in Stratford or Charlottetown. And it's escalating. So we need to get development. We need to get some places put in. For me, this falls within those lines. But I do have concerns about traffic, and that's something we can work on with the province. to make this safer for the people of Rankin Drive.
Thank you, Councillor. Are you suggesting an amendment then to the original motion? The original motion is for 1.5 spaces per unit, or 1.6, I guess.
I would ask for that amendment, sure, yeah, definitely.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that amendment? Seconder? Okay, thank you.
They go 1.5 to 2 driveways.
So 2 units per, or 2 parking spaces per unit.
In reality, I like the standard is 1.5 right now for developers. I think that standard has to change. I think for the most part, people have 1.5 a lot of times for these developments, and I think we have to start looking at 2 because there's no half cars anymore.
Okay, so we can consider this a friendly amendment if the mover and the seconder are okay with it, and if no other councillor objects to it.
It's not a friendly amendment, it's a motion. Excuse me?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's not a friendly amendment, it's a motion, so he'll have to make the motion, it'll have to be
Oh, the
seconded.
motion's already been moved and seconded. Okay, yeah,
It'll
you're
have to be
right.
voted on.
Okay. All right, so we'll, after the discussion's over, we'll vote on the amendment first, and then we'll vote on the motion. Okay?
Your Worship, I just have a couple more comments, just based on the conversations that we've had, and I appreciate staff's input, and I appreciate council's opinions, varying opinions in relation to this. Councillor Glant spoke of how we need densification, and we shouldn't necessarily wait until we have an official plan amendment developed that would allow further densification as a matter of right. I think that's, my own opinion, a wrong-minded approach. I think if we start to consistently offer up conditional use increases in R1 zones, R2 zones, et cetera, into areas, putting industry into areas where it might not ought to go. We've put 10-unit townhouses in areas where there's 2 and 3 and 4-unit existing units, et cetera, et cetera. And I won't speak to R1 because I'm going to be away from that, but principles are there. Councilor McDonald spoke of this being designated as an area within Shape Stratford that is potential for densification. And yes, and densification doesn't necessarily mean an exorbitant increase in densification from 2 and 3 units to 10 units. Moreover, it's a guiding document that council will use in consultation with public input in order to make a determination as to how our official plan will look at the end of the day, identifying what areas will be zoned or rezoned for as of right densification. And that's what we'll be looking at. And that's why I say we're putting the cart before the horse. Once we start spot allocating throughout the community, it's already obviously becoming, developers are becoming aware that Stratford is seeking densification. Of course we are. You know, Charlottetown is, Cornwall is, it's all tied into infrastructure grant money that we're receiving from the federal government. So we have to take a position for densification, increase of densification. That has to be done in an orderly manner with Shape Stratford as a guiding document, and the end of the day amendments to our bylaws and our official plan to reflect how that should look going forward, so that we're not doing all kinds of, we don't want somebody, there's all kinds of subdivisions in town with single family that doesn't want a fourplex put up with next to them when they got all single family residents or duplex or anything else. And it's not right that it does happen. Not when there's all kinds of property in the area that can be developed with the densification we're speaking of here. And this isn't something new, and it's not tied specifically to my own issue. You've heard me say this before on council. I've said it when I was in council in Summerside. People buy into a specific area of zoning knowing what they're getting into, and it's not right to substantially, dramatically change that after the fact.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, any other comments or questions? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Councillor Jackson.
just to get back to the Deputy Mayor's comment, and I can appreciate that we need to consider densification where possible, But with this and with the last item, you know, to try to solve our issues, like 2 extra units and 7 extra units at a time is not ever going to get close to the 2,500 or 3,000 units we predict that we're going to need or that are planned. So I agree with Councillor Dowling in the idea of not kind of piecemealing it together when we know there are areas to be developed. I understand the need for housing, but again, an extra 2 on 1 on Jenkins and an extra 7 on here when folks were sold on the idea it was going to be a 3, that in itself is not going to solve our housing issues, and we're kind of well beyond. I mean, we should have seen this coming years ago, and we've been trying and all those things, but if that were the case, if we were to just accept every conditional use, you know, we made the right decision in some other ones around, you know, kind of an extreme variance in from 24 units to 40. You know, thinking with the character of the neighborhood, we knew that that was, you know, that there's 16 less units. I don't even see any of them up right now, but, you know, trying to do it with these little piecemeal changes in certain areas, I just don't think that's where we're going. We all buy in at Shape Stratford. I think the thing, like the planning principles behind the 1.5, I have no problem with, but the reality is, it's anywhere we see that, it's 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars right now. If they're paying $1,600 for rent, we're seeing 4 or 5 people living in a spot and switching beds as they all work on shifts. Like, it's just a reality that there's nothing wrong with the planning principles. We're just in a weird time right now where this is, the reality is 1.5 or 2 or 3 is not going to make a difference. You know, if this goes forward, I have no problem with the 1.5. I won't support it. I don't think we need to push to 2. I don't know if 2 is really going to make a difference. And I do want to see stacked townhouses occur here somewhere in a place where it was planned right from the start. But again, I just think piecemealing it together is not the answer.
I have one last comment.
Okay.
That's okay.
Can we
Not
say
be too
this
long.
is the-
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to put closure on this, but.
No, just very quickly. So I moved to Stratford in 1994 into Southport. And and I bought into a rural community, and what it was a field across the street behind Moore's Pond, and there was a farm behind my place, and a very nice place. And golf course come in, and that's fine, that's development. At the very corner, the 4-way stop, there's multi-unit housing down there, and that's fine, that's part of development. When Basil and Colleen Hunter sold their farm, and a developer bought it, and I don't know how many units, there must be 60 units in there. They're all attached and they go around. And I admit I wasn't real happy about that when that took place, and I went to a couple meetings. But I had to say that since it's gone up, I haven't noticed that big increase in traffic. They stare at my pool. That's only the back of their place stare at my pool. But I talked to the developer about that, and on behalf of the people behind me, and the developer put up trees, planted trees that are going to mature and create a block for everybody. But overall, I thought now that the project's done, I have no problem with the project. But at first, I was very, very concerned to have that many units in a place where I bought in for an R1 community, and this is definitely not an R1 community, and it takes up the bulk of that street. From the Blue Church right down the 4-way stop, the bulk of that street is that subdivision right now. But I have no concerns with what happened now. Like, I think they've done a good job, and a lot of people have moved in. A lot of seniors have moved in there, and it's you know, it really helped a niche that was needed. So, you know, I think sometimes we have to just kind of look at what's being proposed and what we want here in Stratford. And like I said, I was a hard no at that being put in Basil and Colleen Hunter's property, but now I'm okay with it.
Okay, and if there's anything burning, I'll hear it, but if not, I'm going to call for the question on the amendment. So, any final comments? Okay. All those in favor of the amendment to increase the parking requirement from 1.5 spaces per unit to 2 spaces per unit, that's the motion that's on the floor right now. So I'll call the question on that. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. 4, sorry. 4 in favor. Those opposed? 2 opposed. Okay, thank you. Motion carried, or amendment carried. So now on the main motion, which is the resolution which is read into the record by Councillor McDonald for the 10-unit stacked townhouse in Kelly Heights area. I'll call for the question there. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3.
So we're voting yes to this with assuming that the change is met. Is that correct?
2 per unit.
Yes, it's been approved. The council passed the amendment. Yes, that's right.
And now we're voting to approve this with 2.
With 2, yes, that's right. So,
In favor.
so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, those opposed? 1, 2. Okay, motion carried, 4-2. Okay. Next motion, Councillor McDonald.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Sorry, thank you, everybody. Okay, so the next one, PH 013-2024, DP 087-24, application from Hanson Solar Energy for Peter McDonald at 42 Owen Lane, PID 329565, which is an accessory structure in a front yard. And this motion is moved by myself as Chair of Planning and Heritage. Whereas an application has been received from Hanson Solar Energy on behalf of Peter McDonald to place accessory structures, which are 2 solar arrays, within the front yard of the heritage property on PID 329565, located at 42 Owen Lane. Whereas in accordance with Section 8.1.2, Council may issue a development permit for an accessory structure located within the front yard of a lot, where the town is satisfied the structure includes building design components, such as building material, scale, and form that are consistent with surrounding development. And whereas applications for accessory structures within the front yard are common along waterfront properties and have less of an impact on surrounding development, as property owners generally prefer to have minimal obstructions of waterfront views. And whereas the layout of the existing buildings and structures on the subject property lot and within the surrounding development are designed to optimize the view of the water. And whereas due to the orientation of the lot in relation to the street and proposed setback being 135 feet from the street, the proposed location of the solar arrays would give the appearance of being in the rear or side yard. And be it resolved that approval be granted to an application received from Hanson Solar Energy on behalf of Peter McDonald to place accessory structures, which are 2 solar arrays, within the front yard on PIT 329565, located at 42 Owen Lane in accordance with the submitted plans and subject to the following conditions. 1, that all other relative provisions of the Town of Stratford zoning development bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 2nd, 2024.
Okay, and you're moving that motion?
I am moving that, yes, thank you.
All those, seconder. Do I have a seconder for that? Jill,
Councillor
sorry.
Chandler.
Councillor
Yeah.
Chandler, thank you. Okay, discussion.
Just to provide a brief overview, when you look at the property map, the property in question of Dr. McDonald's is at the very end of Owen Lane. And just the way these things go sometimes, these can be sometimes matters of art rather than some exact science. They've deemed that where the solar array is going to be is at the front of the property. I mean, it's arguable that it's at actually the rear right of the property. It's more of a semantical thing. But in an abundance of caution, they have applied to have these solar arrays have council's approval. From what I understand, when you look at the property map, it's located in a fairly treed area. Fortunately, post-Fiona, it's done quite a number on that area, and a lot of those trees have been wiped out. I think efforts are being made to replant. Essentially, from what I understand, though, based upon the layout of this property, it's somewhat of a technicality that this is the front yardage. That being said, I don't think it's going to be an eyesore. I don't think it's really going to be in anyone's way or obstructing anything. But be that as may, you have the maps, and planning staff are here if you want to talk about it more.
Okay, any comments or questions? Any other comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried.
Okay. Thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, prior to beginning the reading of the next resolution, I did note Councillor Dowling's potential conflict. I would call on him at this time to exit the meeting because we are going to be discussing those matters that he has identified as potentially being in conflict on.
Thank you, Councilman Donald. Your worship, as I stated earlier, it's my intention to declare a potential for conflict and refrain from discussion on this motion, this resolution, and to remove myself from council chamber proper to the public gallery where I will sit as a resident. Thank you.
Before we do that, we still have 3 or 4 resolutions here. I don't know, I just feel bad for our member from the RCMP. We have a lot of discussion going on here, and I'm sure he'd like to go do some other things. I don't know if we're allowed to do that or not, once you come into something, but.
Corporal Weatherby's getting paid.
And Councillor Cox, I did address this with Corporal Weatherby, and he is, should he have to leave for a call, he will do that, but he did say he's okay to.
Okay.
Wait, but I appreciate you.
We've had a lot of discussion, so,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, it's a fair point, Councillor Cox. We do have members of the public here, and I think we're wanting to make sure that we address them as best we can. Okay.
Okay, I just want to note one thing, and that is, according to the Municipal Government Act, it is, the wording is, and I'll call on the Chief Administrative Officer to read the actual wording of the Municipal Government Act with regard to conflict, in regards to the meeting, just so that's in the record and everyone's aware of it.
What it says here is a council member who is in conflict of interest as described in subsection 1 and 2 must declare that the member's interest in the matter of the council, which the member did. But also it does say that they must remove themselves or herself from the council meeting and any other meeting which the matter is discussed. So I know that it was declared that they're going to sit at the back as a resident, but according to the Municipal Government Act, they're supposed to remove themselves from the room. It's
Say remove or meeting? From the meeting. Remove myself from the meeting and
Okay, as
yeah,
long as...
we're just stating the facts, that's all.
Okay, and I'm okay with it, but I guess I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that, that requirement. Okay, anyone have any objection to my interpretation?
Nothing against Councilor Dowling, but I think this is a meeting room, and sitting back there, you're still part of the meeting. And I think by the word, I had to step up before on something because I felt I was in conflict. I just think this is still a meeting room and still part of the meeting. I understand Councilor Dowling wants to hear what's happening and stuff, but it's a, I know, I'm just trying to go by the word of the law there, that's all. I've had to do it, I just want to make sure that this doesn't cause a problem down the road or anything. Maybe I'll ask the CAO again there, just to reread that again, just to, and nothing, like I said, nothing against Councilor Dowling, I just want to make sure this doesn't cause any kind of concerns later on.
Just say don't shoot the messenger here, it's just the information that is in front of us, but it does say that if you are in conflict, remove himself or herself from the council meeting and any other meeting when the matter is discussed.
So I guess based on that interpretation, Councillor, do you have any problem removing yourself from the meeting?
Yes, I do, Your Worship. I have removed myself from the meeting. I'm sitting in the gallery as a resident.
Okay, and I guess based on the
For the interest of perfecting the process of people and councillor and staff are of the view that someone ought to remove themselves completely from the room in order to comply with the MGA. I'll do that in this instance, and I'll ask the CAO seek a legal opinion on that issue so we'll know in the future as to whether someone would be able to stay within the room. It's my opinion that that's the meeting. This is part of the room that the meeting's being held in. I've removed myself from the meeting, but don't want to make things overly complicated, so I'll leave it all together.
Thank you, Councillor. I appreciate that.
I will just say one thing, and I'm just saying what Councillor Dowling said about an opinion. It may be worthwhile because we're living in an age where people do join in remotely through video platforms and things of that nature. And Councillor Dowling sitting there or opening up YouTube when he leaves the room, It's debatable what the difference is, if there's any, and does that mean being in the meeting if he's just observing remotely? I don't know, but I think it might be worthwhile for us to, for a number of municipalities at least, to get together to get that clarified, because I think Councilor Dowling is trying to respect the letter and the
Yeah.
law and the spirit of the law, so, I mean, but.
Good point, yeah.
And I think he's a resident and a certainly concerned resident, and as a resident, he definitely has thoughts on that and wants to be included in that. I understand what Councilor Dowling's feelings are
Yeah.
there.
But he's not, like, in his, anyway, he has removed himself from the meeting. He's not voting on anything. This is a public, anyone can watch this online, anyone can view this. Councillor Dowling or anybody else could watch what was said after the fact.
That's a good point, yeah.
I don't, this is optics to me. The fact that he's not making a decision, this is the gallery, and he is not part of any meeting.
But the only part I
Okay,
had feeling that
let's let the
this,
CAO,
Sorry.
Yeah,
here.
I'm just,
We have sought a legal opinion on this in the past, and from what I can remember, it was indicated that you must leave the room. Again, don't shoot the messenger, but I will seek that legal opinion
Sure.
again and clarify that and send that information out to council.
and maybe for the sake of not interpreting in the future, the actual law could be changed, that if it's going to specify the room, then it says the room, and then there's 100% clarity.
Changing the
Okay.
MGA is a bigger step than that, but
I just-
anyway, I'll seek the legal opinion and get that information back, but
I
just-
appreciate that, thank you.
just stating the facts of what.
No,
is in
no,
the
that's
report.
fine. I just want to make sure that we're complying with the MGA, and that, but two councilors raised really good points that are really relevant in this case, so I think with those two, it will be good to have it clarified. So in the interest of not keeping Councilor Dowling out of the room for too long, maybe we could move on with the resolution.
As quickly as we can, yeah, okay. So with that preamble out of the way, so we are dealing with PH 014-2024, SD 007-24 from SHB Investments, McCarran Way Extensions at PIDs 1110337 and 190629, which is a 17-lot subdivision. It's moved by myself as Chair of Planning and Heritage and Development, and the motion reads as follows. Whereas an application has been received from SHB Investments Incorporated, the developer, to subdivide parcel numbers 1110337 and 190629, which is 8.33 acres in total area, located off McCarran Way, into 17 total single-dwelling lots within the low-density residential R1 zone. And whereas the proposed subdivision is to be serviced by the extension of municipal water and sewer mains in a provincially owned public street with mountable curb and gutter, and each of the proposed lots meets minimum standards per sections 11.1.6 sub A of the bylaw. And whereas as part of the application, preliminary servicing, stormwater management, and erosion and sedimentation control plans have been submitted, and preliminary comments from the Department of Transportation and the utility have been received. And whereas the proposed dry pond located on parcel A has been deemed necessary to meet provincial regulations and is a best management practice for multiple property development in the R1 zone per the town's stormwater management plan. And whereas the overall site plan shows a proposed 0.1 acres, which is 10% of total area for parkland, dedicated to the town of Stratford pursuant to section 4.9. The location is a treed area that requires minimal maintenance directly abutting the existing parkland between Starling Crescent and Clifton Road. The location has been deemed acceptable by the Recreational Department and the Town Sustainability Coordinator. And whereas the application has been evaluated in conformance with Section 4.3, permission to subdivide, where conditions 2 and 9 have been recommended by the Planning Board to further bring the application into conformance. Be it resolved that preliminary approval be granted to an application received from SHB Investments Incorporated to subdivide parcel numbers 1110337 and 190629, which is 8.33 acres in total area, located off McCarran Way, into 17 total building lots, subject to the following. 1, conformance with the overall site plan prepared by Coles Associates Limited, project number 231079, drawing number C100, issued for preliminary approval on March 6, 2024. 2, that the proposed parkland area of 0.81 acres or 10% of the total area, excluding the 0.22 acres designated for stormwater management, as shown on the overall site plan, be deeded to the town of Stratford as parkland dedication and appended to PID 1050665, owned by the town at the cost of the developer. 3, that a stormwater management plan be designed by a licensed engineer using low-impact development guidelines to be approved by both the Department of Transportation and the town. 4, that an overall grading plan be designed by a licensed engineer to set the finished floor and pad elevations for each of the lots in coordination with and including the proposed paths of drainage for each lot to be approved by the town. 5, that an erosion and sedimentation control plan be designed by a licensed engineer using the town's erosion and sedimentation control guidelines to be approved by both DTI and the town. That proposed public roads shall be designed in accordance with the provincial road standards of DTI and that a subdivision road agreement shall be executed. That the sewer and water systems shall be designed in accordance with the Stratford Utility Corporation servicing standards and that a utility agreement shall be executed along with the payment of all applicable capital contribution fees required by the Stratford Utility Corporation. That the developer shall enter into a subdivision agreement with the town to be registered to the property at the cost of the developer. That the existing tree line along the rear property line of lots 8 to 17 be delineated on a survey plan and be located within a buffer to maintain existing trees in a healthy growing condition, and that all required drainage swales shall be constructed outside of the buffer. 10, that the developer makes an agreement with Canada Post to meet Canada Post's requirements for establishing community mailboxes in new subdivisions. That all other relative provisions of the town, that should be all other relevant provisions of the town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw are met, and that preliminary approvals shall be valid for a period of 3 years. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 2nd, 2024.
Okay. Discussion, seconder. Do I have a seconder? And that's moved by yourself, Councilor.
It is moved, yes,
Yep.
thank you.
And seconder, do I have a seconder for that motion? Second, thank you. Okay, discussion. Any comments or questions?
So I might, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor,
go
if it's
ahead,
okay. Yeah, so the background is that this has been an area that's been developing over quite some time now. This is phase 3 of this, I guess, broader development. So the first phases had been completed some time ago now, and this most recent phase was scheduled to be developed in the past. However, due to economic issues or for whatever reason, the developer at the time did not proceed with the development of phase 3, which are the 18 proposed lots. Within the 3-year validity period, so there was now the requirement for a new subdivision approval. The lands changed hands, and now the new owners have come forward with a development scheme that's just quite similar to the one that had been approved some time ago. The change that is now present is that rather than the 18 lots that had been initially forecasted, there's going to be 17 lots, and with that 18th lot be set aside to create the so-called dry pond, which would be a collector system for excessive stormwater or things of the like, or snow melt. And so now it's going to be 17 units, all of which are going to be in the R1 zone, and all of those R1 lots meet all of the requirements to be zoned in the R1 zone. There will be new roadways present with gutters, with curbs, everything that's required. There will be parkland, which I understand will line up quite nicely with the existing parkland, which will be a great feature for all of the neighborhood. So this is the subdivision only, which would take those 2 large parcels of land and subdivide them into the 18 lots, one of which would be the dry pond. Oh, and there, perfect, it's on the screen there, and you'll see the new roadway that's being contemplated, as well as the size of the lots. Certainly, I think it lines up with, and it's germane, I think, to a lot of the discussions that this council has been having recently, but certainly tonight, about increasing new housing stock. I hesitate to use the word densification because for the vast majority of the anticipated uses, these will be R1 single-family dwellings, although that's not, I don't want to put the cart before the horse and talk about the proposed uses, because that will still be before us at a later date. However, noting that it's new housing development that will be present in an area that had been contemplated for development in the past and now has been revived to essentially complete this last phase of this three-phase project.
Thank you. Just to be clear, the previous approved subdivision had 18 lots?
It had 18, but now there's the requirement identified for best management practices to deal with the stormwater and snow melt in a better way, and that dry pond, which is now going to be on that 18th, what was going to be on that 18th lot is now going to take the
And
place.
because that previous approval did that time out? Did it?
Timed out.
It's expired, okay. But it was previously approved by council?
It was some time ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Previously approved for 18 single-family
Yep.
homes.
that's right.
And now we're being asked to approve it for, can you
Se-
clarify the number again?
17.
17 single-family?
R1.
Yep.
Yep. But we did, you're right, we did talk about this at planning, and just so we're absolutely careful, I guess, when we're talking about these things, is that, yes, these are all going to be R1 lots for the subdivision. Yeah. Can't say single family, because that would be another motion. Does that make sense?
It's low density, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
But R1 lots, yes, that's what they're going to be.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Jackson?
Just a question on the dry pond, I guess you call it. I understand that's something that the province has required, and something that, you know, we've learned from Dale Drive and some other areas with water issues that we don't want to repeat. Is there any other area where that would have been suitable, or is that the pond, yeah, the dry pond,
might
like
ask.
in EX1 or any of the other? I drove down there on the weekend. I'm just wondering if there was anywhere else that would have been appropriate or could have been installed.
So I can speak a little bit to that. There was, I think, the original design back when the whole subdivision was being proposed a number of years ago. Lot 8 on the top left-hand corner there was originally going to be the stormwater pond location, and the concept back in the day was for a drainage easement to go across the lot here out to East River Drive. That easement never materialized, and that's actually the lowest. So lot 8 at the corner here is technically the lowest spot. The problem now is you can't get the easement across to East River Drive. So using that for the stormwater pond isn't effective, because you have to try to get the stormwater to go back up the hill. So where it's proposed now, adjacent lot 7, is actually the lowest lot. So the water's going to run down McKern Way and then cut into that dry pond if it's a heavy rainstorm. It's a dry pond, so typically dry ponds are dry 90% of the year. It's typically when you get the heavier rains, and then it's got a discharge point out to the drainage network on Sterling.
And the reason they can't get the easement is because the other landowner is not willing to accept?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That property is fully developed up, and they're not willing to give an easement across. It would be a fairly substantial easement. There is either going across the lot to the north or one to the west, and neither of those landowners been willing to give up that easement.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Yes, Your Worship. No, looking at this, I'm a representative of this area. Live in the area. I'm not, well, not close, but represent the constituents. And it's one of those things, like 15 years ago, R1 was always R1. Now the way everything's changing, as Gordy mentioned earlier, how R1s, and now they're looking at conditional use here. There's 2 blocks here, one with 20% and one before, so they're qualified under that. The 2 blocks, 20% and 4%. With the water, with the dry pond, I mean, I know it's going to help. I know I have lots of water in my place, and I wish we had a dry pond, but it could continue, it makes it safer if it's an overflow, especially with the way the world is going now with climate change and so on, and low levels and so on. It's one of the hard decisions I have to make here tonight, being on council, because everybody knows that I'm a really, really strong representative of the residents. But I mean, my hands are tied tonight with the conditional use. It's there. It's under 20 with the dry pond. It's a provincial issue. It's required by the provincial government. That's new, but it's a great, you know. But then it's going to open up some more housing for people, and 17 new single homes, and then 8 single semi-detached, and then that's what the conditional use comes under, semi-detached. If it was an R1L, it'd be just R1 completely, and so this is a R1, and they build semi-detached. So I was talking to the planning person today, and the semi-detached is quite different than the duplex. The duplex is over and under, so semi-detached is parts. And like I said earlier, the cost of housing has gone up and so on, and I know these semi-detached are going to be very, very expensive. I mean, they're going to be 380,000, 400,000 homes, and then the single homes are going to be probably 500,000 or 600,000 with the prices is now. And like I said earlier, the going rate here in Stratford is 482,000. But it opens up in our neighborhood more families and so on. I know the church behind there with the Bunbury rink and so on. The park, a beautiful park put there. It's going to open for more families to come over to Stratford and live in Stratford. And but it's a very difficult decision, because I'm a very, very, very protector of our ones, and I know the way everything is changing here, and the cost of living and so on. It's just a way. It's just you got to look at the town, you got to look at the residents, then you got to look at the developer itself, and then you got to look where we're heading as town of Stratford heading. So, but it's a hard decision here tonight. But I'm going to be voting in favor of it with the 17 singles and the four semi-detached homes, and then with the pond there, it's a matter. It has to happen. The pond with the provincial. I know every Rankin has a pond, dry pond. Other places have dry ponds, and it's just, so I feel the residents. I know in day one and 10, 15 years ago, we came here for our ones and knew what was said to and everything else, but it's, you know, the change is there, and the way the bylaw is opened up, and it's sort of, I'm tied with my hands. I can't say no to it, because everything's legal. As a lawyer beside me, or a former policeman, and it's just if it went over that 20% or went over that 30%, I could say no to it. I had an excuse to say no to it, but at the same time, it's at the end of the day, it's opening up new homes, new families, and so on. New people come to Stratford, and I know we're looking for. It's not creating more. It's creating more density. It is, but it's sort of a semi-detached, a big. I mean, I saw semi-detached homes up in Kelly Heights, the beautiful homes there, and I see families there, and 2 or 3 cars in the driveway of young families, and it gives people a start. And you know, and the stacked townhousing give people a start. We're trying to give people a start. It's so expensive, but you gotta sometimes go where your heart feels, and you want to see, you know. And I'm an old guy. Old guy, want to see young families come to Stratford and start here and open up their dreams and so on. So tonight I'll be accepting that. So, anyways.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Just one last thing, Your Worship. So there is no, Phil, there's no other place that you couldn't salvage that parcel A as a lot and run it off? Like the EX1, EX2, those are other owners? Is that outside this?
Yes, yeah,
It
those
is?
are existing. Those are actually accessed off of a private laneway
Okay.
on Sterling.
Okay.
The town used to own a park up just off the screen.
Yeah.
We used to own a park in there back in the day. Well, I think Bunbury actually owned it.
Okay.
And then once it transferred over, they deemed it excess, and it's actually up for sale at the moment.
Okay, and so with no other place, I understand the province wants it there, and there's no other place to put it, that's fair.
Yeah.
So, and I do think some of the concerns that were outlined by the residents around upkeep around that, I think that was clarified that the town would kind of make sure that it's not kind of overrun with grass and stuff like that. So I understand that. I will support the subdivision part of this.
If I can, just a point of clarification, it's actually a 19-lot subdivision. The open space and the stormwater pond count towards the number of lots being created.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
just, so it's 17 residential use lots, and then one open space, bottom left-hand corner, and then
Okay.
stormwater pond. So
I just have one more question, Worship.
Go ahead.
Phil, I'm going to ask you a question from the resident, my apologies, about putting the semi-detached on the back. I know there's 3 on the inside here, but there's 1 in the back. Is there a possibility of putting 4 in the back, a semi-detached?
Mary, can you go to 12G? There is a color drawing. It's, yeah.
We just want to see a picture that we are going to handle it separately, but
12G1,
it's just a photo to kind of give an understanding.
no, 12G1. Oh, Wendy.
Sorry, Wendy.
So many laptops down. There you go. So just in terms of where the semis are, so the 4 in orange are the semi-detached.
Yeah, 2, 17, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility of putting them on the back?
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Counselor, I might just pause that there because that will be a discussion, I think.
Okay.
More germane to the next resolution. Not a bad question, but I think just important for our process to consider, this is solely for the subdivision. And then if there's any conditional uses, we'll talk about that next. Does that make sense?
I thought this was for subdivision and the conditional uses.
No,
No, conditional
they're
use in the next
separate.
resolution.
Okay.
Yeah, they're separate motions. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
And those against? Motion carried. Okay, we're now going to next resolution, Councillor McDonald?
Yeah, so this is the sister resolution of Resolution PH 014-2024. So this is PH 015-2024, SD 007, SHB investments from McCarran Way extensions, PIDs 1110337 and 190629, conditional use. Comes from Planning and Development Heritage. It's moved by myself as chair of that department. It reads as follows: whereas an application has been received from SHB Investments Incorporated for a conditional use, which are semi-detached dwellings up to 20% of the lots in a block within a proposed 17-lot subdivision on PIDs 1110337 and 190629, which is 8.33 acres in total area, located off McCarran Way. And whereas the application proposes 4 semi-detached dwellings on lots 2, 6, 7, and 17, with lots 2, 6, and 7 forming a block with a grouping of 15 lots bound on all sides by streets east of McCarran Way and west of Starling Crescent. 3 semi-detached lots divided by 15 total lots is 20%, and lot 17 forming a block with a grouping of about 25 lots west of McCarran Way, bound on all sides by streets, East River Drive, and the approximate location of the right-of-way to Starling Park, and large parcel boundaries, being the proposed and existing open space, which is 1 semi-detached lot, which divided by approximately 25 total lots, about 4%. And whereas each of the proposed semi-detached lots meets the minimum lot standards per section 11.5.6 sub A, and the application has been evaluated in accordance with section 7.16, authority to deny permits, where the application has demonstrated that, in the opinion of staff, it does not meet the requirements to deny a development permit. And whereas within the low-density residential zone, R1, prior to the issuance of a development permit for a conditional use, council shall ensure that property owners that directly abut the subject property are notified in writing of details of the proposed development and asked to provide their comments. And whereas on May 22nd, 2024, 46 notification letters were sent to abutting property owners requesting comments on the proposed conditional use. 8 responses representing 7 properties were received by the deadline, which was June 21st, 2024, which were not in favor of the development due to some residents having an understanding that future development will contain single dwellings only. Desire for the property to remain as green space, concerns regarding the location of the semi-detached lots, lot sizes, parking requirements, increase to the amount of expected neighbors, impact on the character of the existing neighborhood, property values, etc. Be it resolved that approval be granted to an application received from SHB Investments Incorporated for a conditional use, semi-detached dwellings, which is up to 20% of the lots in a block, within a proposed 17-lot subdivision on PIDs 111-0337 and 190-629, which is 8.33 acres in total area, located off McCarran Way, subject to the following: that all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw, number 45, are met. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 2nd, 2024.
Okay, that's moved by
It
Councilor
is.
McDonald.
Thank you, yes.
A seconder? Do I have a seconder? You going to second it? Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
great start.
Okay, discussion. Although, anybody want to lead us off?
I'll lead us off just to provide some context as to why this is now split out into this. So we have preliminary, we have a vote on the resolution to subdivide the large parcels into 18 lots, or really 17 lots that are developable as R1 lots. Within an R1 zone, you can have 20% of a block on a conditional use basis as semi-detached. Now, just to zoom out just for a quick, brief moment, a block is a defined term in our zoning and development bylaw. It's essentially an area of land that is enclosed by certain features, whether they be streets, roadways, waterways, or other certain natural features. And so if you really, the developer who's come forward with the proposal has suggested that as a definition, you see 2 sides essentially of a new street. The ones that are fully encompassed by the new road and Starling Crescent would be 1 block, and then the other lots on the other side of that new roadway would be another block. It's a supportable definition, and it would be really one way to get to the maximum of 20% of 1 block, which is the smaller portion of lots, being lots 1 to lot 7, with the dry pond located at parcel A, and then 1 lot of semi-detached on the other block, or as defined by planning staff, which is, I think, is supportable next to that open area. So that's how the developers come forward with it. It is a conditional use. It's at the limit for one of those blocks. I don't believe, but I do stand to be corrected about any potential, what these might look like or anything like that. Essentially, it's just they've identified the request for the conditional use to develop those as semi-detached, but I think that's all we have.
Yeah, at this point, it's just looking for the use, approval of the use. We don't have any building designs at this point, so it's
Right.
still premature.
I have a question, if I could. Just wondering why the whole block isn't just included as 1 block, the new subdivision. Why don't we just take the total of semi-detached and apply it to the whole property?
That, a definition of a block isn't, I'd say, isn't the most accurate. So I'll read out, so Jeff alluded to it briefly. Means a unit of land consisting of a grouping of lots bounded on all sides by watercourses, streets, or large parcel boundaries or otherwise defined by the town. So you could either, there's a couple of options. You can either group the whole subdivision as 1 block, or all the lots of McCarran as 1 block.
And just, if I could just stop you there, just as a matter of interest, if you use the whole block, what is the percentage?
The whole block being all of
The new
these subs
subdivision.
plus the ones on Sterling?
The new subdivision, the new
The
part.
new subdivision, so 19 lots gives you 20 is your break-even point for 20%. So the 20% is conditional use. If you go over the 20%, it bumps up to a special permit use, and the special permit requires a public meeting, and you can go up to 40% with council approval.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm just wondering if you take just the new subdivision part and the semi-detached properties, what percentage of that is a total?
It's 4 out of 19, which is
That's just
20.
just over 20%.
It's over 20%.
22%.
2105.
Thanks.
2105.
My
So,
brain was smoking.
but if you go the other way, the way that it's been defined by the developer, both are less than 20%?
One's directly at 20.
One's at 20. And
One's at 20? So they comply without any kind of conditional use requirement?
No, it's still conditional use requirement.
At
If I'm doing-
20%?
Let's say I'm in an R1 zone and I'm trying to do a single semi-detached building. That's a conditional use. Conditional uses, anything between 0 and 20% of a block is conditional uses.
Okay.
Between 20 and 40%, it's a special permit use.
Okay. Okay, discussion.
So I think any discussion really has to really include all of the letters that were sent by our residents not in favor of the development. And town staff have, I think, forwarded to council a number of, I think, responses or acknowledgements of a lot of those concerns about how to best address those. So certainly a lot of those, a lot of the things that a number of residents wrote in, certainly the desire to maintain these green space, things of that nature. Well, respectfully, I think that's not, it's not necessarily an issue. I can appreciate it's an issue for the residents who wrote in expressing that opinion, but ultimately, we as a council have to do what's in the best interest of the town, and we have to identify what's the best use of that land, and for that large swath of land to continue as green space, I think respectfully is not the best use of that land, considering I think some of the other very appropriate acknowledgements in some of the other letters acknowledging that people do understand that this was phase 3 of a development that was identified for construction or development some time ago and needs to be rectified. I think it's a valid point about expectations, certainly about R1. The development as far back as 2001, when all of this was first coming out, it was identified as R1. As noted, we have approved that through council vote here tonight as R1, not as R2 or anything else. And so certainly this is a completion of a development. I can understand that within a fairly mature neighborhood, within a fairly well-developed zone. And so I think we ought to pay attention to those concerns. And certainly I'm mindful of our official plan that all development needs to be in the character and spirit of existing development. There has to be harmony there. So I think that's something we certainly ought to consider at a minimum. I think, respectfully, I do think that town staff's interpretation of our definition of a block, I think it's supported through the drawings. I think that makes sense. So on its face, it can happen. Certainly, I think the determination for us here at council is whether or not it should happen at all, first of all, or secondly, if it's going to happen, should it look as it does? And so certainly, I think I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you on those points.
The question I had earlier with the block, when you put those 3 semis over, it'll be 24%, right? One block.
If you consider the entirety of the development
No,
proposed
just
as
consider
one
one
block,
block.
yeah,
One block.
then you're over.
You're over.
Be 21%.
So that's why the developer put 3 on one side and
Yep.
one under the conditional use
Yep.
of 20%.
That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a couple comments, maybe more so than questions. I think it is, like you said, Councillor McDonald, really important to take the letters that have come from the residents. I have concerns when we offer the opportunity for engagement when in reality, it seems that we're just kind of compiling their comments as opposed to them impacting the actual decisions. I've heard the statements, our hands are tied, we can't really say no, and that makes me wonder why we're voting at all. Do I have a choice to say no? And I don't think the options are just 13 single-family homes and 4 other semi-detached or green space. It could be the original plan, which was 17 or 18 homes. So I do think that I would like to see that still is a consideration, because it seems that in the letters, that's what the majority of the people are supporting. And when we're looking at this space, we're saying we're in a housing shortage, people are, like, all of this stuff. Meanwhile, this place sat for 3 years not developed. We have all kinds of land right now that has the potential to be developed, and it's not being developed. And now we're kind of bending and twisting and all that sort of stuff. So we would be thrilled if this went into development and we had 17 homes to offer. We don't have that anywhere. And when I look at our inventory, when I look at the permits, when I look at the number of requests that are coming in, we're stalled. It's not happening. And it's not a matter of those 4. I think there's a happier medium here. And I don't like when I hear things like we can't say no. Because it makes me wonder why I'm here.
Say no, at how we say no, or what the concerns might be. You know, I think it all depends on how we articulate it.
Well, I hope when I say no, I'll say it very articulately.
Okay.
Your worship, I fully support the subdivision of the R1 lots as they are. I don't support the 4 semi-detached lots. I think when you look at the residents of East River, I mean, this is one of the oldest areas of Stratford. Single-family R1 homes there, my understanding and looking at the maps, it is. Those that are on Starling, same thing. You know, I think I like where we're at right now. I don't know that these are going to, again, make a huge difference in our housing supply, but 17 single-family lots in that area, keeping with the consistent kind of feel of the neighborhood, I think is a good thing, and I think there would have no issue filling those, I'm sure, with nice, affordable, beautiful homes. So I was initially thinking, similar to what Deputy Mayor said about, you know, maybe moving them over. I just feel like 17 R1 single-family dwellings is probably the best use of this area when taking into context East River, Starling, and the other parts of Mason Road. So I will not be supporting the conditional use, but absolutely supported the first motion.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
I'd like to hear.
Yeah. Just a small one. So the white out areas are, this is phase, what'd you say this is phase 3? So let me just get this straight. The parts that are attached to the color places, are the lines, those are existing houses are on those lots there?
I don't know. I think that's East River on the back side.
On the back side, so.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, if we ask to move like Lot 7 and Lot 2 down to the other side and put them in a row, I think the mayor made some kind of a question about that, or Stevie did, Council McDonald, that if we put 4 in one area, how does that affect everything if we ask for that to be done? Like at the very bottom, just beside the open area, if we had 4 semi-detached right there in a cluster right there.
I think that changes the block, and then it makes it a public meeting, a special permit use
Yeah, you're right.
application.
Yeah.
But still, it's something that's a bit of a hybrid answer rather than saying no when.
But you'd be more in favor of that approach?
I would be than this here. I think having 4 in a selected area within that neighborhood, and especially down near the open area where kids could come safely down from those, whatever, to that area if you have more families in there.
But if it goes in 20, is a possibility if we have a special, over 20, you have a special permit, but then it can go up to 40%, right?
I'm might ask them. I think you're right, or 30 or 40, I can't be sure, Mr. Deputy.
Let me double check. Bring up my two zones, so I believe, so, special permit use for semis, in the R1 zone, see if I get the right zone, go up to 40% of the lots in a block as a special permit use. So if it's bumped up to a special permit one, in theory, you could end up with an application for 40% of the lots, as opposed to.
Semi-attached.
But then we could say no to that, so.
Yes, and there will be a requirement with special permit to have public meeting.
But if he goes up to 40 or 37%, whatever it is, we can say no.
And I know that no one is trying to scare us into making a decision to accept something less than ideal.
Yeah. To me,
But
that's
we
just-
shouldn't use that, what possibly could be.
Right.
As the motivation to determine, you know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
I know staff's not doing that, and I know our fellow members here are not doing that either, but.
No.
Yeah, I just think like saying, well, geez, you know, they could have put 60 in there. That's
Right.
not,
Right.
we're not talking about that. We would have control. The issue is if we go to special permit use, we'd have to go to the public, come back and make a decision on that. I think we've heard already from folks, just my 2 cents, that we've heard from folks already, they'd like to see this stay single family. And the residents of East River and Mason, I'm sure feel the same. So we might, you know, may want to go that way. I probably won't change my mind. I think
Yeah.
I'm not going to support this. I want to see it say 17 single families.
So just a question, Mr. Ruff, while you're there. So if he goes less, if the developer goes less than 20%, he can do it as a matter of right?
No.
No? So anything,
Anything between 0 and 20%. So let's say he's wanting to do one semi-detached unit. He still has to go through a conditional use.
I see,
The
okay.
only permitted residential uses are singles.
Okay.
If you're doing a duplex or semi, it has to bump it up to a conditional use.
And is there any precedent for denying conditional use in a case like this? Is it, to your knowledge?
Yes, yeah, so conditional use, I'll bring up what the definition of a conditional use is. So it means, it's a use which may be allowed, emphasis may be allowed, subject to council approval of a permit with attached conditions on performing the use, which may be revoked by council for unsatisfactory performance. So it's a may be on the use. So there is, if it was a permitted use applying for, permitted uses are as a right. Conditional and special permits on a maybe basis. So you take a look at the impact on the neighborhood, does it fit the neighborhood, and then make a decision on that, so.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions?
I'm just, in layman's term here, we're looking at accepting the conditional use, yes or no, right?
That's right.
Right?
4 lots.
For 4 lots, right. And okay.
I know I would support putting them in the cluster. I don't support where they are right now. I would support having them in the cluster in a certain area. It makes it look better for the street, allows that whole road to be single units, allows 2/3 of that other road to be single units, and it still allows you to have the semi-attached in that area. To me, that is a logical answer to this.
Have them on that side of the road.
Yes, down by the open area.
The one complication with that is if they clustered in that bottom left-hand corner, you change the calculations. Because at the moment, or potentially change it, but have to do the maths on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many units on the left-hand side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the left. 4 in there, that gives you
For
40%. So clustering all in one spot is not, I don't believe, going to work under a conditional use.
Okay, so can I just ask one more thing then? Say you had 2 at the bottom here where 1 and 2 are, and you had 2 at the bottom where, right by the open area.
Inside.
Would that be less of a, you'd have to just adjust really those 2 lots?
Potentially, I'd have to do the calculations.
I just think they have it in the area, even if it's 2 across the street from 2, I just think, to me, that's less intrusive, and I'm just trying to find a bit of a hybrid answer here. Maybe there's no such thing as that, but I'm just trying to figure that out in my head. Because I'm just trying to figure shape Stratford, I'm trying to figure out what residents want, but I know that we can't just try to look for this utopian neighborhood that's, everything's gonna be happy and there's gonna be lollipops.
In Shape Stratford, this area hasn't been designated.
This is still R1.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, if you look at overall, think Stratford, this is part of Think Stratford,
Yeah.
So if I might,
I think.
Mr. Ruff, if we talked about this committee and I just can't remember, forgive me, but was there a justification or an explanation for why lots 2, 6, 7, and 17 were selected? Now, I appreciate with the ratios that they had to have 3 on one side, 1 on the other to make it work, but why lot 2, lot 6, lot 7 in particular, and lot 17 in particular? Was there a planning justification? Was there a massing? Was there anything?
None that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I think originally lot 1 was considered, but given its small property size, I think it was disregarded. But in terms of the grouping on those specific lots, there wasn't any, we have no information on that.
Okay,
So.
All right. Okay, I guess we've gone around this enough, unless there's going to be an amendment. Anybody, so there's no amendment, so we'll proceed to the vote, and unless there's any other comments or questions? Okay.
I have one thing. So if I'm not totally liking where the yellow is there, then I say no, I guess. But I do like the fact that semi-detached are in the area. I do, so I'm not no for that.
Because it adds more housing options.
So how do I vote here? Because I just don't like the way the yellow was set out there.
I think Director of Planning is going to speak.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm just
Probably
trying
the
to.
simplest way to do this is put, if you want to go with the townhouses or the detached, put 2 on each side. Put the balance in there. If that's the way you want to go, then it eliminates the 3-to-1 ratio, goes 2 and 2.
That's what I like to see. I like to put a
so before you leave, Mr. Director, I just have a question about that. Can we vote on that as an amendment, or do we have to have a new survey plan, or can we do that today, or does that have to be done on a different day?
I think you can vote on it, and then we can go back to the developer. That's my thinking, but the CAO may have something different to say about that.
We can make a condition then,
Yeah.
a condition of acceptance. Yeah.
Now, just from a planning perspective, while I still have you here, from your perspective, is there a better way? I'm always mindful of what you say about paying attention to edges of zones, paying attention to edges of developments to make sure things line up. To your mind, is there a more suitable layout if we're going to go with any semi-detached anywhere?
I would suggest the bottom corner by the open space, that's one in there, do the opposite end on top, next to the larger lot up top there for that side.
So lot 8, I believe?
I believe it is lot 8 up there.
Okay,
Because that's a larger size lot too as
Yeah.
well.
yeah.
You may want to go the same thing with corner to corner on the other side as well, if it fits, because they're regular shaped lots, so they may be a little bit complicated.
Okay.
So I have to do some math on some of those things with setbacks and that kind of thing. But if you do end to end on both sides, it's you're getting a balance, 2 and 2.
So I guess if we're going to propose that, then that amendment would have to read something along the lines of, it's being the amendment would have to say that the survey plan be amended to reflect Department of Planning's suggestion for improvement or something like that.
There might be a simpler solution here, you can vote to defer this with further discussion. It seems like council's pretty divided on a lot of
Okay.
items here. I'm just suggesting that might be a way to do that.
Somebody want to move that?
I'll move it.
I just have a question first. So if we did deny this, does this mean they can't come back at some point to ask us about the conditional use?
Door's still open.
So for that reason, I think I'd rather just make a decision, with all respect for the CAO, just to leave it as is with the idea that they can come back I think you're kind of picking winners and losers here when you start throwing the lots around, and without the developer being here to defend or talk about that, I don't know that anything's gonna change for me. I like that single family. I think we're kind of trying to scatter them around, and I
Well-
think that's,
I'm just saying that someone that's in lot, you know, someone that's on, like lot 3, you have a single attached, lot 1, single attached, or even lot 1 there. Lot 1, single attached cross street, single, semi-attached beside you there. Like, it just seems like that person's clumped in the middle there. Like, I just think, like what was just stated, that if you have it in 8 and 9, and you had it in 1 and 2, to me, that's a pretty logical answer right there. You still get semi-detached. But if you want to defer for further discussion, I'm not ready to vote. I'm just confused because I like this, but I don't like where they're located.
Okay, Phil, Mr. Ruff?
Yeah, so in terms of if it gets denied, there's nothing stop the developer coming back tomorrow and say, hey, this is a new design, we're going to stick all 4 semis in lots 11 through, like 8 through 11. There's no, like, if denied, there's no wait period before a new application comes in. So.
And that was one of the concerns in the letter from residents.
What was that?
Have this single, possibly a single detached on the back by the church, well, not on that side, right?
So
That's a conditional use.
is it better to defer it, or is it better to make a decision here tonight?
I say a decision.
I'd rather make a decision tonight.
Okay. All right, in that case, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? The resolution? All those opposed? Motion defeated. Okay, you have another motion?
I do.
Councilor McDonald?
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff.
I promise I'm almost done. Maybe, yeah, I think Mr. Crosby's going to get Councillor Dowling, bring him in back.
Like I still want to see that developed.
And I think the sense I get, Councillor Cox, is maybe, but maybe needs a little more time in the oven, because they're just sort of scattershot right now. Let's maybe get a little better considered, maybe get some potential designs that what it's going to look like, give us a little more information.
Yeah.
And as Mr. Ruff noted, doors never really closed.
Like I said, that one lot especially is surrounded by semi-detached on both sides. I think that's fair for a resident
Yeah.
to be stuck in the middle there.
Yep, and I think I welcome them to come back with something a little better considered. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, we're moving on.
I'm just going to wait for Councillor Dowling to come back in. Or
who said 7 o'clock?
did he leave in protest, or? Yeah.
We didn't need council, even need Corporal Weatherby to intervene.
Might. I'd look at it again for sure. It didn't seem to have a lot of rhyme or reason to where they were, to be honest with you. That's why I asked Dale, is there a reason why they're here? And so I'd like to. Yep. Yep. Well, I'll leave it up to you, Mr. Mayor, if you want, if I can.
I think we can proceed.
Okay,
I
I'll
think,
carry on.
we've
Yep.
got,
All right. So, Resolution PH 016-2024, VA 002-24, from Don Scantlebury, that Rosebank Road near Connolly Lane, PID 444216, which is a one-lot subdivision with a major variance to lot frontage. It comes from Planning and Heritage and is moved by myself as chair of that department. Whereas an application has been received from Don Scantlebury to subdivide parcel number 444216, located on Rosebank Road near Connolly Lane, into 2 single detached dwelling lots. The proposed lots are in the low-density residential zone, which requires the minimum frontage to be 22 meters, or 72 feet. The preliminary plan of survey shows the proposed 2 lots, each having 18.89 meters, which is 61.98 feet of frontage, which is approximately 3.1 meters or 10 feet less than the minimum frontage requirement, thereby requiring 13.92% variance. And whereas pursuant to subsection 6.1.2 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, variance applications shall demonstrate one of a number of tests for justifying a variance approval. This application has been considered against the following 2 tests. A, the lot in question has peculiar conditions, including small lot size, irregular lot shape, or exceptional topographical conditions which make it impractical to develop in strict conformity with bylaw standards. Or B, strict application of all bylaw standards would impose undue hardship on the applicant by excluding the applicant from the same rights and privileges for reasonable use of his or her lot as enjoyed by other persons in the same zone. Whereas on June 30th, 2023, in accordance with subsection 6.16, where a variance in excess of 10% is being requested, 27 notification letters were sent. Should that be 2024? I just want to, yes, okay, 2024, because I know this has been back and forth a little bit. Property owners who own parcels of lands which are located in whole within 61 meters or 200 feet from any lot line of the parcel being proposed for the variance. 2 response letters were received before the comment deadline on June 24th. Be it resolved that approval be granted to an application from Don Scantlebury to subdivide PID 444216 into 2 lots of residential use, single detached dwellings, subject to the following. 1, that a plan of survey be prepared by a professional surveyor licensed to practice in Prince Edward Island, showing the 2 lots as per the preliminary plan for Lot 2022-1 and Lot 2022-2 as prepared by Mantha Land Surveys, DWG, number M24-154, dated May 5th, 2024. The minimum lot frontage for the 2 separate lots, that should have the 2 separate lots listed in condition 1, has been granted a variance of 13.92% and must be a minimum of 18.89 meters, 61.98 feet. 3, that the sewer and water systems shall be designed in accordance with the Stratford Utility Corporation servicing standards, that the development and property owner make payment of all applicable capital contribution fees as required by the Utility Corporation in accordance with preliminary servicing comments as follows. A, payment of the one-time domestic water supply contribution fee for the new line. B, payment of the one-time sewer treatment contribution fee for the new line. C, all water and sewer work to be coordinated and inspected by the utility. 4, a joint access easement and agreement must be prepared for the proposed driveway, shown on the preliminary plan of survey. The agreement must be registered on the titles of both lots. 5, that all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 are met. And 6, that preliminary approval shall be valid for a period of 3 years. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 2nd, 2024.
Thank you, Councillor. A seconder? Thank you. Deputy Mayor? Okay, discussion.
So just some background, folks. If you look at the survey plan, which is at 12H-1, essentially we have a fairly irregular sized lot, which is bounded by a number of other R1 lots. And essentially we've got a fairly large sized lot that could be certainly developed into one development. But the proponent of the resolution has proposed essentially creating a shared driveway that would go into 2 lots that are surrounded by all of the other lots. Essentially, it just creates 2 lots out of 1 with a shared driveway. There had been a consideration to do a different kind of plan, but it would require running lines for sewer and water down Connolly Lane as well as Rosebank Road to create 2 separate entrances. Essentially, this would be a much cleaner development just solely off of Rosebank Road. The minimum frontage is requiring a resolution from us, though, considering the nature of the lot size as well as the shared driveway. It's simpler in terms of water and sewer, and I think that's the reason for the request as found in the resolution.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Just in relation to the lot, I'm sorry, Councilor McDonald, I'm a little late coming in here. Missed the initial comments. So the map here shows the driveway going in, which is the 2 lateral lines, and the 2 lots, the lot to be subdivided is what's at the end of that?
In the red there, Councillor.
Okay, so they are
Yeah.
good, big lots?
It's a fairly good-sized property right now. Yeah, subdivided into 2. What's actually, Mr. Ruff, what's the acreage currently of that parcel? Do you know?
Lot 1 is 0.75 and lot 2 is 0.63.
Oh, I see it there. I didn't see it there. Yeah. Okay. So still both.
Yeah, so they're both over, being in one zone, you need 700 square meters, and .6 of an acre is just over the 2,200 square meter mark, so. And then .75 is quite a bit over, that's about 3,000, just about 3,000 square meters. So in terms of size-wise, it's not an issue. The private laneway is effectively, or the double driveway is effectively a private road, so.
Yeah, so they share,
Yes.
and they'll share all the costs for it, too.
Well, actually, the developer will share the cost of the water and sewer lines and things like that, but ultimately how that's parceled out, if it's sale. This is, I understand, there's no plan currently to develop these two lots. It's just, for lack of a better word, it's not used pejoratively, speculative to subdivide these for development. Yeah.
The town did approve a similar development up on Kinloch a couple of years ago, around 160, 162. There's blocked land in behind all this, like the subdivisions there. So they did a double panhandle in, effectively, that's what this is double panhandle. So.
Yep.
There doesn't appear to be any other access road other than that double driveway going in?
Well, it's a good question. There actually had been an initial plan to create an access point, I believe, off the back of Connolly Lane that you'll see on the right-hand side. Going to be fairly cumbersome and fairly almost prohibitively expensive, from what I understand, to run water and sewer to both a new lot off of Rosebank as well as off of Connolly. Would have been much more disruptive as well to the property owners in and around there doing all that work.
And I might have missed comments in relation to the forestation of the lots. I know it's noted in the letters of reply. The common theme was mitigating issues in relation to loss of trees and that sort of thing. Is there?
We haven't discussed that yet, Councillor, if you want to bring it up. Just did, I guess, so, if you want.
I just wondered if there's anything, any discussions with the developer in relation to, and I know by the sounds of things, they're not looking to develop these two lots, as you mentioned. They're looking to subdivide them with potential for development or sale or whatever the case may be. So the issue of the forestation of the, or mitigation of tree loss on the properties might be best served to deal with it when there's a application for development before us. Would that be fair?
You mean consider this resolution until such time?
No, no,
Or-
no.
Oh, sorry.
I'm saying the issue of whether there should be anything in any type of a development agreement wouldn't be able to be done until such
right.
time as there was a development agreement, or development proposal before us.
I think that's right.
Okay,
Make it a condition, yeah.
thanks.
Okay, any other discussion, comments, questions? No? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. Thank you, Councillor.
I could keep going.
And thanks for your patience, Corporal Weatherby. And oh, he's outside.
He quit,
okay.
yeah. He couldn't keep
Thanks
up
for your
with us.
patience. Thanks for your patience.
He's a sergeant now,
Councillor Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is Safety Services, and I'll call on Chair of that committee, Councillor Jackson, to give his report.
Thank you, Worship. I'm going to try to be brief tonight. I know I say that most times, but I never am, but I know we want to get out of here. So just a little summary of the minutes of our June 17 Safety Service meeting. We had discussed a number of issues, some feedback on T Hill, with it getting to be a busier time of year down there. I think there's some concerns around garbage and staff coverage, and I think that's been adjusted now to look after that. And I know I didn't get to Canada Day, but I know it's always a great event down there, and you know, it's a real gem to have that park in the community. We had some concerns about you know, the volume of folks that are there when there's cricket, and I know we'll have a discussion in the future about the future use of the park, but that was on the agenda. Also talked about EWATch, so moving forward, I know we're looking at expanding the discussion with business around more cameras in the community. I know that's something that's ongoing. We had a report on a few unsightly premises, and I thank our staff for being diligent on those and trying to work with folks the best we can to make sure they're dealt with. That's really it from those minutes. If Corporal Weatherby is out there, there he is. Again, I appreciate your patience, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Maybe we'll invite you up for your report. Thank you.
For the month of June, we had 274 total police occurrences. Of those, the traffic complaints still continue to be the 44% of our occurrences, complaints in Stratford. We had 59 total police traffic stops, 27 summary offense tickets, around the $4,484 area for the summer offense tickets, and 32 warning violation tickets. We had 27 property-related complaints, 17 mischief complaints. 13 of those are obstructing the enjoyment of property, and 4 were damage to property. We held June. One thing I really liked and want to see continue is our youth engagement there and some police initiatives with the youth. We had two presentations at the Stratford Elementary. We had our police dog service go in and do presentations to the different grades there 2 different times in June, and then we also had Stratford members and the police dog service attend the Glen Stewart School Family Fun Night on June 13th, and I attended a meeting with Citizens on Patrol there for Stratford for June 24th as well.
That's nice.
So we we had 6 selective traffic enforcement program files created, 2 check stops. We had 2 impaired driving by alcohol during the month. Only 8. We had 8 motor vehicle collisions. 5 of those were reportable damage for the whole month. So it was we have noticed things are starting to get busier with the nice weather in the summertime, and when we also include the summer vacation for different members and that. So it's usually the busy time of year, July and August, that's for sure.
Thank you, and I do appreciate the looking at the map here of warnings and tickets. I did hear about it from my wife after I did say we were asking for more enforcement down in T Hill area, and she did get donate $130 to the cause. So it's funny. I mean, we asked for more enforcement and more patrols down there, and we get what we asked for. So I appreciate that, and I think she learned her lesson. And but it was funny because I got a call like it was
With your electric
Constable.
car?
No, maybe. Is that his name? Yeah. So he anyway, lovely gentleman, but no appetite for a warning. So
With the electric car?
the electric car, yeah.
I have a couple of questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
And I apologize, Corporal Weatherby, if you've already explained this. In the other category, in the June occurrence 82, what's the other?
Yeah, it's I think it explains it there at the bottom. It's for fingerprinting and whatnot.
Administrate, like that sort of stuff?
Administrative occurrences where it's being dealt with at the front counter.
Okay.
So it's not a lot of them aren't actionable police
Got it.
investigations.
Okay. My second question, just for awareness, I think there's been something new that shifted, that now RCMP, you can do breath sample, or like you can, what's the word I'm looking for?
Mandatory alcohol screening?
Right.
Yes.
So there doesn't have to be any signs of impairment, but now RCMP, like you could ask that of anyone, right?
Yes. It has to be in a fashion where it's not, like say,
Right,
say you start your shift and say, basically what the traffic section would do is every 8 cars I'm stopping here today, I'm gonna do a mandatory alcohol screening.
Usually my
Yep.
experience is
So it can't be,
They
I recognize,
Right.
I recognize someone who may.
That guy ran a stop sign 3 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
You're not
So-
profiling, it's
Yes,
just random
exactly.
sampling, but
Yeah.
that could
As
happen.
long as it's being done in that, following that,
Sorry, Jody's laughing at me. And then my third question is, this is more for awareness, because I know, just like I'm always listening and reading the news in regards to charges, and I know that there's an increase in impairment due to marijuana and other things like that. Can you just, for education purposes, tell me, like there's commercials, don't drive high, but like how somebody could be impaired by marijuana for a number of hours after they've consumed marijuana,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Hours and hours.
yes.
Thank you. Just, I know, Stephen, it's not, no, I think it's really important, and I think lots of times, even when it comes to alcohol, that people have consumed alcohol perhaps the evening before, and they don't realize that they're still in a danger zone, when in fact they are, and marijuana has the same impact.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Questions for Corporal Weatherby?
One small one. So approximately 60% of speeding tickets were for, 29 or less kind of thing. So, and there was some for over that, obviously. But do you find like in Stratford, like some residents still call it, Stratford 500, when it comes to, Mason Road and Stratford Road and some different long roads that we have, and the police can't be everywhere, so we totally understand that. But yet residents seem to think that you can go 30 or 40 over occasionally or whatever. But and as you watch Compass, whatever, you see an awful lot of talking about accidents and things happening, excessive speed kind of thing, and they talk about the guy on the bridge, which is incredible, that speed. But do you find that still, like, the public has not got, that is increasing, or it's staying consistent, or you think that's getting better as far as the high speeds that we used to see in Stratford?
Yeah, off the top, beside, the one on the bridge was fairly excessive. I believe that was 60 over, or
Yeah.
not on the bridge, 60, whatnot. It was towed,
Mm.
impounded. We're not, over the month of June, I'm not seeing
Okay.
like a high speed. It's usually that 29 and below.
Okay.
Now, sometimes RCMP members, there can be some discretion with that, where it's, say it's 32 over, and they could write.
Drop it down a bit.
Yeah, they can drop it down
Yeah.
to the 29 on, like, below
Okay.
29,
Yeah.
yeah, as well.
I just hope we're trending in the right, and I kind of feel we are, like, but I know at one time it was a lot worse, but I'm hoping, like, I get a feeling it's trending the right way, so.
Our numbers are actually increased the last couple of years. I see the numbers, I know the last term was on council, Steve, but
Yeah.
the numbers double or triple what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not, it's in relation to what they're doing,
Yeah,
not about people's behaviors shifting,
That's right,
that they're
that's
speeding
right.
more.
Exactly.
Police presence.
Yeah, which is great.
Which is exactly what we asked for, and thank Corporal Weatherby for that. The one other question I had was,
Thank you, yeah,
are we
thank you.
closer to that new member being in place?
But I know the new member who's transferring here, he has his house for sale where he's at now.
Okay.
And it should be, that could happen within a month, or it could be.
Yep. It's in the works, so.
I know the location that he's at, the properties will sell fairly
Yeah.
quick, so we're hoping to get him here sooner than later.
Awesome. Thank you. Anything else, Corporal Weatherby? Thanks again. Keep an eye out for those electric cars.
Sorry for keeping you so long.
Thank you. Thank you. So, and I really do appreciate you spending this great deal of time with us, Corporal Weatherby, again. So just a couple other things. The other reports are in your package. So the Humane Society is kind of a standard month. Transit, we're around 302 riders a day average, which is phenomenal. Every month we're getting better and better numbers. So kudos to everybody involved there and all our residents for taking. I mean, we're up by about 80 a day, our average from last year. So that's great. The last thing I'll just reference here is the fire calls. So there were 19 calls in the month of June, 10 fire alarms, no fire, and I know there's something of concern to the members when they're consistently happening in certain places. They've been addressing that, but they will always go, and so there was 10 out of 19 were a fire alarm, no fire, 2 medical first response and 1 water rescue. So again, they got a new boat in May. I'm pretty excited that they have that capability now, and that was a potential person in the water. So yeah, so that's it for my report. Any questions, folks? Sorry for coughing all night too.
No, thanks very much, Councillor.
Just in relation to the citizens on patrol, I noticed in the committee minutes that they're experiencing some difficulty in recruiting. And perhaps this has already been done, but I'm wondering if there's anything the town can do from a social media perspective to kind of put the call out. Perhaps
Sorry.
it's been done.
Yeah, and thanks, Councillor Dowling. And I know Wendy has been very good to get kind of reminders out to folks on citizen patrol, and so they're trying to recruit. I think we've been doing our part on here. It's trying to find, it's just like any other thing, trying to find volunteers these days. You know, it's hard. So we'll continue to keep up. I know Wendy stays in contact with Nicole, the chair, I think, and so where we can promote more, we will. And I encourage folks here that might be listening, if you have, you know, a spare evening, get out there and help them. It is worthwhile, and they do get to meet with Corporal Weatherby and kind of learn some things along the way. So I encourage them to, if they're interested, to contact the town, and we'll get them in touch with the right folks.
Thank you. And thanks for your report. Okay, we'll now move on to Recreation, Culture, and Events. I'll chair that committee, Councillor Chandler, to give her report.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. We'll just do a quick overview of the department. The Recreation Committee did not meet last month, nor did the Arts and Culture Committee, so there's no updates there. As we already discussed, the town of Stratford hosted the open house in regards to the community campus on June 18th. It was very well attended. I thought that it was really positive engagement and that the staff did a fantastic job. And it was really exciting to watch the presentation and just see people's excitement about it. So well done to everybody involved. Stratford Youth Center and Council, there's a number of members that have set up a working group to focus on youth center marketing and promotion. So they're going to be creating a logo and branding, clothing as well. The Stratford Youth Center Leadership Club has completed their fundraising and will be going on their leadership trip to Ontario, Quebec. That's from July 23rd to 28th. And I hope you're ready to give a big round of applause because the group successfully raised over $48,000 in the last 18 months. And in total, 24 youth and 4 staff will be participating. The Youth Center had 77 youth participate in the program last season, kids grades 5 to 12. And as of June 22nd, Stratford Youth Center members contributed 4,297 volunteer hours in the community over the last year.
Wow, that's great.
And I know that it is fantastic learning for them. And I mean, there's so many benefits in that they're developing their roots in the town and that sense of volunteering. But from a town perspective, we really owe them a great deal of thanks because that is it's a very significant amount of human hours. So thank you again to the Youth Center. Applications have been collected for the 2024 Cheryl Duffy Service Awards, and this award is open to current and former Youth Center members who are attending post-secondary education in the fall. Winners will be selected over the next few weeks. This year, up to 4 prizes of $500 will be issued. I think last year we did 2 $500 prizes. We've already chatted about Canada Day at T Hill. I thought that it was a really great success, and every time I'm there, in particular, in Canada Day, I feel such a sense of pride, and I just am so reminded of what a wonderful asset that is for our residents with the backdrop of the beach and how many people we can accommodate. And the programming was wonderful in regards to the entertainers and the arts and culture. And it was really, really neat to see the variation and also the interaction with residents and people learning to dance and all that sort of stuff. I thought it was an exceptional year. Oh, no, no. That's my pleasure. But it was really, really neat to see the broad and diverse entertainment and, again, people's level of interaction with it. And, of course, we want to thank Mayor Ogden and the council members who served ice cream and strawberries. I didn't get to do that. I wish I had. And the staff, of course, for the setup, members of the youth center, everyone who did the tear down, parking, traffic control, maintenance, social media communications, all of it. It takes many, many people. And, of course, the Lions Club for the pancake breakfast and the barbecue. I also wanted to give huge congrats again to Isabella Rivard, recipient of the 2024 Stephen J. McQuaid Memorial Youth Award for her volunteering, and Sharon Veal, recipient of the Neil and Gail McDonald Volunteer of the Year. Summer camp has begun at the Robert Cotton Center. It's an 8-week program, and it's Carson McLeod is the camp supervisor for the summer. The camp can accommodate 25 campers per week. Right now, we have an average of about 21 campers attending, so we can still accommodate a few more. Pondside Park has programming for youth and adults in tennis. Courts are also available for casual drop-in play. Intro to sports for 3-year-olds, 4 and 5-year-olds are full or almost full. As well, the U4 soccer program has 48 kids. That's significant, in my opinion. Also, we've got a full-body fitness class offered on the stage for 12 weeks. And of course, anyone looking for more information can always phone the, or get in contact with the Recreation, Culture and Events Department. I also wanted to mention, I've got a couple other things, sorry, here on my phone. We continue to work with our, service providers, soccer, baseball, softball, et cetera, in their execution of the programs and our maintenance of the fields. And always there's some back and forth in managing expectations and making sure everything's happening as it should. And I think overall it's going really, really well. We also wanted to bring attention that we have a new staff member going to begin on July 22nd in the Recreation Department. And that is, Jeremy, maybe you can speak to that if you'd like, or I think, yes, Melanie Gale Weatherby is her name, and you can give a little bit.
Yeah, we're excited to have Melanie join our team. Melanie is actually the wife of Corporal Weatherby, so we'll see more Weatherbys in the building, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's great.
She has a history of event planning, program planning from St. Albert in Edmonton, and when they relocated here, she's currently working at Glen Stewart School, and excited to start here on July 22nd.
Great. Great news.
I think that's almost it for the update. Oh, the renovated outdoor pickleball courts are going at Kinloch Park. I don't know if anyone's seen them. They look really, really great. And I think maybe there was tiny bit of confusion by a couple of residents just because that area was closed off or not accessible while the painting was happening or in advance of. So everything's back up and going. Splash pads running 10 to 8 until Monday, September 2nd. And the mini ball field at Fullerton's Conservation Park is open. And of course, just regular maintenance and all that continues to happen. I still see on our sign that we're seeking instructors for the arts and culture offerings in the fall. So if anybody wants to encourage, folks to put in an application, then we'd love to hear from them. Yeah, I think that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
I have one question. Chairman, just looking at Clearview Estates, the multi-use park, multi-use facility, where are we at with that now?
We're well underway in the planning. We ran
Yeah.
into a speed bump in regards to the actual ownership of the property.
A speed bump.
A little bit of a speed bump, so we're working through that with our planning department and also with legal and also with the developer to have that property deeded over to the town. And once that's done, we can put shovel on the ground, so to speak.
Yeah.
Are the residents aware of that? The local residents that met with us?
Yes, I've been in contact.
They're in contact.
Cut
Okay,
them
good,
across,
thanks.
yeah.
What do you think?
While you're there, I also had an inquiry in regards to the upgrades or potential Glen Cove Drive Park.
That one we're a little further behind. I haven't gotten as far as we'd like on that one, but we still are planning to do some work there. We'll be in contact with that one particular family that originally reached out.
Okay. We had approved in our budget little just.
Upgrade to Lance Park.
Upgrade to it's Lance Park. It's in Glen Cove. Okay.
Yep.
So.
We've been down to look at it. We've done some concepts, but
Yes.
in terms of community outreach, we haven't done that portion yet.
And I should have asked you this, or maybe just the waterfront. Did we have people there on Canada Day?
We did.
Lots?
We didn't promote this
No.
space, but they were there. We know a few people in this room were there as well. The landing area around the Michael Thomas statue probably had 250, 300 people, fair to say, just in that area alone. There's other people down along the boardwalk, in the green space as well. In the CGI parking lot, it was very well attended, that area. So we're looking forward to opening that park
Yes.
in
and
due time when construction is completed.
But we don't have necessarily a date, an opening.
We're hoping at this point, mid-August would be where we're aiming, but
Okay.
it
Oh,
all
wait.
depends on the contractor when they're able to finish some of the lookouts and other boardwalk stuff.
People are absolutely raving about, like, they're just, it's so beautiful.
That's right.
And around the
Yeah.
statue and whatnot. It'll be so well used, so
Oh, yeah.
a great asset.
Yeah, and thanks again, Jeremy and the staff for the new painted pickleball courts. They look awesome. I haven't been to play yet, but that means a lot to folks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your report. No other questions? Okay. Well, thanks for your report, Councillor Chandler. We'll now move on. I noticed that we said 7 o'clock. Does council wish to, I think we have about another half-hour work to finish here, at least, probably. Do you
Yeah.
want to continue on, or do you want to reconvene at a future date?
Continue.
I'm okay to continue on, but if it gets too much past 7:30, like, I will have to scoot out, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to go 7:30 too.
No resolutions, no.
Well, there's one there for under
Yeah, there's
committee of
one.
whole.
Yeah, committee of the whole.
That up just to make sure we're getting that done. Do we
Yeah, good point, Jeff.
agenda on the fly here just to deal with that resolution?
I think we should be able to get to it because we've got finance and technology, and then that'll be the, oh no, that's not the next one. Committee of the whole, infrastructure, and then, yeah, we'll make sure we get to that resolution, so. Yeah, okay, so we'll now move on to finance and technology. I'll ask Councillor Dowling, Chair of that committee, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Finance and Technology Committee did meet on the 19th of June, 2024, the minutes of which are attached to Council's package. And I'll open to the floor for any questions or comments in relation to those minutes. Hearing none, I'll give a brief overview of Director O'Connell's activities and staff through the month. The next round of utility disconnects will be the week of July 22nd, impacting potentially 40 customers. There is still one customer disconnected from June's disconnect list. July utility bills are being processed, and they should be going through to Tremploy around July 10th, 2024 for distribution. E-billings will go out July 9th. Attend the organizational review meetings with department managers, attended the Housing Accelerator Fund meeting, met with the CAO, Deputy CAO, and Financial Coordinator to review the revenue sharing template, attended the annual general meeting for the Kerry Board. Auditors were on site to do audit work, and our staff are still answering some questions on the audit file. That's progressing well. Working on finalizing the Public School Board lease renewal. Attended the compensation review meeting, working on the application through Rural Growth Initiative funding for Clearview Park. Staff is reviewing information to switch to electronic funds transfer payments for accounts payable. And staff is researching electronic submission of time cards through Town Suite. And staff remain busy with day-to-day tasks.
Thank you.
If there are any questions, Your Worship, would be happy to answer them or direct them to Director O'Connell. Otherwise, that is my report for the month.
Okay, thank you. And the town income statements and utility income statements are included
Yes,
as well.
sorry, yes,
so,
they
yeah,
are attached.
That's great. Yeah, no,
So
thank you.
I'll put it out if there's any questions in either the report or the attached statements as well.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much for your report, Councillor. We'll now move on to the infrastructure. I'll ask Deputy Mayor Gallant to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. With the July 10th ongoing project work at Waterfront Boardwalk, Community Campus, Water Reservoir, Bunbury Sewer Lift Station upgrades, Corey Sewer Lift Station upgrades, and Force Main Extension. Many of these are anticipated to be completed by the end of July. Well, probably August now, we said earlier. Work continues at Kelly's Pond with a new water control structure and storm piping. It is anticipated that traffic will be diverted soon through the temporary road section to enable installation of the new culvert across Quebec Road. A new bus shelter has been installed at the corner of Rankin Drive and Hopeton Road, and the shelter at Sobeys has been reinstated after damage during Fiona. I noticed down in Rankin Drive and Hope that's very appreciated with the new bus shelter. People, it's full. It's just nice to see. A tender has been issued for resurfacing of the parking lot at Recreation Center, as well as a main access into Town Hall. Access to the Town Hall parking lot, there will be a 1.8 meter wide paved shoulder edge to the main access to accommodate pedestrians and cyclists from Shakespeare Drive. As we have been notified of approval of funding from the PEI Active Transportation Fund for the Glen Stewart Drive paved multi-use path project. We have begun preparing an RFP to engage a consultant to complete the design. This project will see the sidewalk segment replaced with a paved trail to accommodate both pedestrians and cyclists between Mutts Drive and Purley Drive. Does that help with the provincial government? Just at 50-50? Okay. And specs are being prepared to tender for the construction of a gravel driveway to the Access Cable Heights Water Station. An RFP has been prepared to engage the consultant to design the water main system replacement in Reeves Estate, which is nice to see. Infrastructure staff is busy with the following: grass cutting, landscaping ongoing throughout the town. Unsightly premises, bylaw complaints can be excessive and time-consuming for investigation and follow-up. Speed humps are now installed at 5 locations, and data is being collected at 2 more locations. Water supply repair to Town Hall is now complete. New well drilled commissioned at T Hill. Opening the splash pad for the season. Very busy over there. The kids. Valve exercising is complete. Fire hydrants are being painted. Sections of sewer main along Millennium Drive, John Hamlin Drive, Redden Heights, and Stratford Road, Quiet Water Drive, and Chelsea Lane were flushed, and a video to review the condition and identify repairs if required. Gravity sewer flushing is underway and will be completed before the end of the summer. Water and sewer inspections, water turn-ons, and for the new development ongoing inspection and maintenance of water and sewer systems, and managing ongoing customer resident inquiries and concerns. And that's my report for July, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any comments or questions for Deputy Mayor?
One quick one, Your Worship. I commend staff for the outstanding job they're doing in relation to maintaining all of our parklands, our flower beds, our grass cutting. It's every year as we add more and more recreational land to the inventory, trails and everything else that comes with it. Of course, ongoing maintenance issues that we're increasing each year, but they're certainly doing a great job keeping on top of that. One thing I noticed, I was out at a tree planting event in Starling Park a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed that the sign is down there.
What's that?
The sign indicating it's Starling Park.
Okay.
I think it was blown down during Fiona, and just wondering whether that could be looked at, or whether, and perhaps there's no intention of putting it back up, and that's the case. There's 2 posts there.
You're saying Starling Crescent Park over by us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the sign blew off of the posts.
Okay.
So either remove the posts or put the sign back up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's looking really good. They planted shrubs all around that where the sign was.
Yeah. Yeah, Heidi has those finishing touches all around the town. Her and Rose is really doing a good job. And if you have any complaints on infrastructure, I would suggest to email Jeannie, and Jeannie will look at it. No complaints, like if you see anything, not complaints, if you see anything around the town that needs to be fixed, like Starling Crescent, just email Jeannie and they'll go through Jason and Joe.
I appreciate comment, Deputy Mayor, but I would suggest that we email the CAO as opposed to individual directors. That's just my approach on it, but I'll leave people to their own discretion in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Make sure we're following our rules here. So a comment, and this is to Jeannie and to Charlie and the folks and Jeremy, thanks for helping a resident in Clearview who was hoping to get hooked up to sewer for a long time. Charlie went out, I think, last Friday, and they got it all straightened away with the new road in Phase 2, so I want to thank them for that. Question, and it may not be relevant to us, but the active transportation path on McKinnon was ripped up and is being replaced. Is there any reason why, like on that south side, like it was a beautiful path? I'm just wondering if there was a reason, if something kind of with the construction precipitated that.
This. Are you referring to from the corner of Kinloch right up to Purley Drive? Yeah, so that is part of our Forest Main extension project, going to be completely reinstated once the landscaping and everything is done. Yep.
Thank you. And that width that Glen Stewart is going to mean that continuous all the way down, Jeannie?
All the way out to Stratford
That's
Road
great.
and beyond, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Jeannie, is the same thing going to happen on Kinloch?
Yeah, a portion of that trail has been tore up to put the pipework in, but that's going to be reinstated as well.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, we'll move on to Committee of the Whole. There's a resolution there. I'll ask, since it has to do with planning, I'll ask Councillor Jeff McDonald to move that resolution.
I think that
Gotta
does
put you
make-
to work. You haven't
That
been
does
there
make
tonight.
sense, yeah. It does make sense to come from planning, considering the subject matter of the resolution. So this is Resolution CW 010-2024, Efficient Plan and Zoning Bylaw Amendment. It comes from Committee of the Whole, moved by myself as Chair of Planning, Development, and Heritage. It reads as follows. Whereas the town of Stratford is committed to addressing the housing crisis and ensuring that its residents have access to safe and attainable housing options. Whereas in 2024, the town successfully attained funding through the Housing Accelerator Fund, established by the Canada Housing and Mortgage Corporation, which is a funding initiative designed to provide financial support and resources to municipalities in developing attainable housing projects. And whereas the Town Council passed a resolution CW012-2023 Housing Accelerator Fund to move forward with the identified initiatives designed to implement systematic changes to the town's planning and zoning bylaws to promote more housing developments and remove the inefficiencies and obstacles to diverse housing typology. And whereas the Town Council understands the need to progress with an official plan amendment that is in keeping with the results of the numerous studies and workshops completed in the Shape Stratford project that identified the constraints on land development due to the projected growth populations. And whereas the Town Council understands the need to progress with the zoning bylaw amendment that will make changes that reflect the amendments to the official plan and promote community development. And whereas proposals were received on June 3rd, 2024 for the Town of Stratford Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw Review. And whereas 2 submissions were received, one from Upland Planning and Design and one from Stantec Consulting Limited in partnership with Fathom Studio, and evaluated by a team of 4 who ranked each submission out of a total score of 100 with the following results. Proponent Upland, 89.73. Proponent Stantec Consulting and Fathom Studio, 83.25. And whereas Upland Planning and Design, having the highest score, submitted a total price of $221,810, HST excluded, and Stantec Consulting submitted a total price of $149,321, HST excluded. Whereas there's funding approved in the Housing Accelerator Fund budget allocated for the official planning and zoning amendment, be it resolved that the Town of Stratford Official Planning and Zoning Bylaw Review project be awarded to Upland Planning and Design for the price provided of $221,810, HST excluded. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole as discussed at a meeting held on June 26, 2024, and it also bears the recommendation of Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 2nd, 2024.
Okay, and you're moving that resolution. Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. I think Councillor Jackson got it, I think. Okay, we got a moved and seconded motion. Any comments or questions?
So I'll just make a very brief comment. You do have the results of the official plan RFP, which is great to see the detail on the results. I think it really helps make that decision. We are going with a higher priced option. However, 2 things. Really what's driving the recommendation and the higher score is the methodology as it relates to engagement and the engagement strategy. With such a massive project, the more engagement we have with respect to getting out there and soliciting input on what's going to be in our official plan, I think really is a valid justification for going with Upland. Also, importantly, we do have funds allocated through the Housing Accelerator Fund to pay for this consultation, this RFP. And so we're not necessarily out of pocket. It's money well spent, and it's money that we are certainly grateful for in partnership with the federal government.
I appreciate those comments, Councillor. I think this demonstrates, I think the culture of our community and the wishes of this council to really respect the input from residents and seek their views and perspectives on proposed any changes to the zoning and the development bylaw. So I think this money is money that will be well spent, and I think the higher price, if it gives us more engagement, is well worth it. So with that, I will, unless are there any other comments or questions? I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, we have a second resolution here, and it's to do with the appointment of a new member to the CADC board member, and as a town representative. And since it has to do with business development and sustainability, I will ask Councillor Cox to read that, to move that resolution.
Yeah. Could I have it up here, though, because I only have minutes left on my computer, and I didn't bring my charger, so if that's okay. Okay. Ron, okay, Ron, thank you.
Is that what Darren did?
Thanks very much. Okay. All right, sorry about that.
Not surprised.
Okay, where is the bylaws of the Charlton Area Development Corporation, CADC, require the annual appointment of corporation's directors at the annual general meeting, and whereas Michael Fleshman is our current representative and has represented us well, and whereas Michael Fleshman is a member of the Town Sustainability Committee and has agreed to continue to serve as the town's Stratford representative. It is resolved that Michael Fleshman is hereby reappointed as the town's representative on the CADC board until the next annual meeting.
Okay.
And do I have to say, I think there's the last part, isn't? No, that's just it, I think. Yep, that's good. Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, so now, do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McDonald. Okay, any comments or questions? I think Michael has done a great job as our representative, and I think he's a great representative.
Yeah, he did a great job in our committee. He continues to do a great job, so.
So with that then, if there's no comments or questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, next issue is, our next item is sustainability. I'll ask Councillor Cox to give his report.
Yeah, okay. Sustainability report. Okay, just great. Oh my gosh, I apologize for my my computer here, but next time bring your.
Do you want mine?
No, it's okay. I think I can get this. I think I'm okay. I'll just go down here a little bit again. No, I got it. It's all right. I'm good. I'm good. I'm never coming without my charger again. All right. Okay, sustainability. The residential tree planting program has been completed with 50 trees allocated to residents. Staff have now turned their attention to planting the 120 trees secured through the $2 billion tree program. Additional tree plantings through a grant received from Tree Canada were held to enhance parks in the Stratford with trees and shrubs, and with the final two taking place in Clearview in Starling Parks. To further engage and educate the community, we'll be installing informative panels at each park detailing the species of trees and shrubs planted, ecological benefits. Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee assisted with Canada Day alongside the town's Recreation Department, added much appreciated cultural elements to Stratford's Canada Day event. There were 3 international food vendors, 4 performers, plus the Mi'kmaq heritage actors all joined the festivities. I think we all thoroughly enjoyed the festivities, and once again, the crowd was an amazing crowd. So just a couple more quick things. Let me just go back here. I just want to say that the Kelly's Pond, I'm really want to say after seeing what happened at Moore's and also the planting of, I think it was 250 shrubs, Gaddafi and the crew did that. So I want to say they did an excellent job, and it's nice to see we keep adding to Moore's. And now Kelly's, I think Councilor McDonald talked about that, is moving along nicely. And I thought our mayor, Steve Ogden, did a great job on Compass the other night. Represented the town quite well, spoke very passionately about what's happening to one of the jewels of Stratford. So thank you so much for that. The town of Stratford's legacy book report project for the upcoming 30th anniversary of town is underway with some nominations for both youth writers and residents, so that's really good. Jeremy Pierce gave an update on some sustainable features planned for the community campus. He presented some renderings of the community campus and pointed out the future location of 2 solar arrays that will generate the energy to power lights for sports fields as well as street lights within the campus. I know at our last sustainability meeting, we talked to Jeremy about, there's a couple of holding ponds near a couple of fields, and our sustainability committee asked if maybe we could use those, the water collected there to put back on the fields to help hydrate the fields. And so we're going to look into that. I thought that was a really good idea that was brought forth. And just to add about the solar panel, just a quick note, a lot of people don't know this, but President Jimmy Carter back in '79 put solar panels on the White House. That was back in '79. He actually, in the mid-'70s, he used solar panels for his whole town. Basically, their town was off the grid in the '70s from Jimmy Carter, who was also a genius. But then again, Ronald Reagan, when he got into office, he took the solar panels down. So there you go. So once again, Town Talk podcast every couple of weeks. I think it's doing excellent, and you should tune into that. So that's a really good thing to check out. So that's my sustainability report.
Thank you very much, Councillor, and you have a resolution as well, I understand.
I heard.
No,
adoption of the forest management
plan.
Oh, yeah. You're not the only person that has resolutions, mister. There's another resolutioner in the room.
It's only after 7 o'clock.
Is such a word as resolutioner? Okay. Whereas the town of Stratford in 2002, with funding from the Climate Challenge Fund, hired forest consultant Matt McKeever, who I personally walked through the woods tramping and falling, maritime forestry to complete a forest management plan. And whereas the plan is a detailed assessment of all town and owned forested properties and corresponding set of recommendations that details forest management recommendations, acquisition recommendations, and forestation recommendations. And whereas the plan is intended to help the town strategically acquire land for protection and afforestation, plan for funding opportunities, improve resident access to nature, increase carbon sequestration, and generally improve the health and resiliency of Stratford forests. And be it resolved that the town of Stratford approve and adopt the Forest Management Plan as a guiding document for the management of town-owned forested properties. This resolution bears recommendations of the Sustainability Committee as discussed at a meeting held on February 7, 2024.
Okay, thank you. So moved. So you moved that? Thank you. And seconder? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, any discussion?
So I just want to confirm, this plan, we received this. I recall looking at something.
February,
Yeah.
we got in February, yeah.
I know it went to sustainability with the presentation, but I do believe we were provided with the PDF.
Yeah.
Yeah, my apologies. It should have been attached in
Yeah.
this package as well, but we did discuss this. It was several months ago, if not 6
Yeah.
months ago. It was sustainability and I believe committee of the whole, but
Right, community of the whole.
we
Yeah.
did notice it was never adopted by council, but at both those committees, it was well recognized and no one seemed to have any issue with it, but my apologies for not having it in the package tonight.
I recall seeing it. I just want to make sure that this is the one that we're
Yes, it's the
talking about.
same one,
Okay.
yeah.
And this gentleman did come in and do a presentation one
Correct.
morning. I remember it was a while back, but it was an excellent presentation and really set out an excellent vision for
Yeah.
a forest canopy in the
Yes,
town.
yeah. But we felt we wanted to have it adopted because we are, moving into a lot of reforestation and planting of trees and such, so.
Okay, so this is just taking care of business. So any other comments or questions? Okay, call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. All right. Thank you for your report, Councillor Cox. Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability, we've been continuing to work. There's no meeting last month, but we are continuing to meet with federal and provincial government contacts. We are seeking a meeting with our Member of Parliament to discuss our wellness facility and seek support for our funding support for it. But we haven't been able to set that up yet. I noticed that he's having a social event on this Sunday, so I'd like to attend, and I encourage anyone else to attend and put the bug in his ear to really come forward and really help support our wellness facility. Yeah, any questions or comments on intergovernmental affairs?
I had a question I meant to ask last month, but I forgot. Do we have an update on our resident survey? Do we have it all back? And
Yeah, I think it was reported, it was usually finalized in May, and I think it was reported, I believe there was a report.
Yeah, so we were a little late getting it out this year, so we're a little bit behind what we would normally be. Jade and I have done an initial proof of it and provided comments back to them yesterday, I think it was, this week anyway.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for that second draft.
Oh, you're
we'll have a
talking
quick
about
look and then
this- Okay, I'm
we'll
sorry.
have, yeah, we'll have it shared then from there and do the presentation.
Okay.
We may hold off till September to do the presentation, just with
Okay.
schedules. I know over the next few weeks between staff and council probably aren't great, but
And do we have the same uptick?
pretty close, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we were, I forget the exact number, I'm going to say around 875 or something like that. Yeah, so in the same kind of ballpark, which is actually really strong for all the surveys and things like that that we had out to residents over the last year. It's been a busy year with Shape Stratford and stuff, so.
Okay, awesome.
Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were speaking about another, the previous survey.
No, I think we usually, yeah, I think this is the right timeline, right?
Yeah,
Typically
yeah.
would be, yeah.
It's usually like May or June that we have the report back, so I would say we're about a month.
But we
Ish
have some
behind.
preliminary results, though, don't we? Haven't we? I remember seeing some.
Not
No?
on the annual survey yet, no.
Okay.
We haven't shared anything
Okay,
yet.
thank you. Okay,
Hmm?
that's my report. Any
They
other
want a new
comments or
MC for
questions?
Canada Day.
Any other comments or questions? No? Okay, we'll move on to inquiries by members of council. Any other inquiries, members of council? Other committees, Stratford Community Seniors Complex. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Deputy Mayor Gallant, to give his report.
Okay, meeting here is in Cockachair. Received quotes for the building assessment review, was brought by CMHC. They've been awarded to Coles Associates, working with Coles to get the site business set up. Steve Thompson is on vacation, and Kim Father Jerry O'Connell took over. He's filling in while he's away, which is very nice to see. And working with the contractor on a better option for shower rods and new walk-in showers. And the roof on the muster station shed will be replaced this week. And the annual inspection has been completed on all the units. And now we're, Canadian CMHC will be sending us new information on what the future agreement will look like for the senior complex. So we're negotiating that now. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
I have my regular question, and I apologize if it's already been addressed. Have we made any headway in the heat pump in the common area?
Here we go. Be nice to have it going now.
No, we haven't. We have Coles Associates hired. They're going to do a whole site visit. It's to do with the replacement plan of all capital items throughout the building. So it just didn't make sense to just look at that one area whenever potentially maybe we might be looking at upgrading the whole system down the road to have heat pumps in every unit. Like that's, I'm gonna give them a whole list of things that I want them to look at.
Yeah.
So it didn't really make sense for me to go ahead and do that whenever they might have to change a bunch of wiring and things like that.
Yeah, I have to say it out loud again. I do have some, like it is a important, like it's a concern of mine, just because I've done lots of reading and kind of failure to provide infrastructure. And, you know, in certain places, like many lives have been lost as a result of not accessing cooling. And I think it is kind of a basic thing. And I know that in theory, to do something, to have to redo it is not the best use of our money. That being said, it seems perhaps that we have done that in other instances. For example, the active transportation trail on McKinnon right now is being dug up again. So it wouldn't be crazy to think that we could install the heat pump in that common area.
Sure, I can look into
It's not a
getting
criticism, it's
quotes
just,
right away.
like, it's really hot out,
Yeah,
so.
no, I can look at getting quotes. Yep.
Yeah, we always talk about the heat pumps per room, but it's be a cost effect, extra charge for each resident. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Everybody's on low income and a set rate, so if they had something in the room, you have to charge electricity, right? So-
Yes, and I know, we have
That's the
discussed,
problem
we
there,
have
right?
discussed that, which is where I think over the last year that there was the kind of idea that possibly in a common space where they might meet to play cards or socialize or escape the heat of the rooms
Yeah.
in severe,
In the lobby,
heat
yeah.
waves or the, extreme weather that we're facing,
Yeah.
that it could be
Yeah,
potentially a comfort in kind of many ways.
yeah, we reach out to the government, there's no programs there, and we're doing this on our own for the lobby, right? Kim?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's correct.
this is our monies we found, so, for that lobby, so hopefully it'll all work out. Good question.
So we've got
I do agree with Councillor Chandler. I think this should be a priority, given that, this summer's particularly hot so far, and it's going to get more so. Summer after summer seems to be hitting records as we go along. I think it's important, there's mostly seniors in there, and I think it's important for them to have an area at least to go out to cool down,
Yeah.
even if within their unit they're not able to do so. And look at the grander plan, worst case scenario, I think, and heat pumps aren't overly cheap, but worst case scenario is we have a heat pump that we'd have to relocate to some other facility at some point in time. But I think if we can find the funds, it should be done sooner than later.
Yep. I agree 100%.
I agree.
Okay, so I guess it's being worked on, and we'll check back with the next meeting, or committee of the whole. Okay, any other appointments to committees? I guess not. Thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. No proclamations? Any other business anyone would like to bring to the table at this time? I think my mayor's report is in your package. I'll not take the time to go into that right now, so just any questions or comments you have, just let me know, and I'll respond to them. All right, motion for adjournment? We're now adjourned. Thank you.